I'll do something.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
I'm not sure what I'm gonna do.
I don't have any red stuff.
Oh, wait, my timer.
Okay, I read that. Where's my, mine's red. All right.
Okay, Planning and Zoning Commission meeting September 24th, called to order at 6:33. I shall establish roll call. Sue Kavanaugh.
Here.
Dan Scow
Present.
and Melissa Wilson.
Here.
Okay, a quorum has been established.
All right, so we do have one item that's on the agenda. Is Mr. Stephen here? No? Okay. So
I-
apparently he got in touch with you?
Address that, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
Plans were submitted, fees were paid, plan review was conducted. Unfortunately, the plan review did not pass. There's items that need to be addressed. Also, the HOA needs to submit their approval to the town of Alpine, to the applicant. So I'd like to be able to remove that from the.
Absolutely,
agenda for
I
tonight.
agree. Do we need to make a motion for that, Ms. Christine?
Please.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to remove.
I'll make a motion that we remove the Stephen Shank lot number 137 Alpine Meadows subdivision
I
from
have,
tonight's agenda.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We had two ayes. Is there an
Oh, I'm sorry. Aye.
Okay.
Sorry, you caught me in mid-read. Sorry. Thank you.
You're good, no worries, boss. Okay, discussion and/or correspondence items. Planning and zoning discussion items. All right, let's have a conversation. What do we got?
We're going to discuss a potential commercial development moratorium that was brought forward by a council member. And I think that planning and zoning is very involved in this conversation. I think we're at a point with all the annexation, not having enough information, not having enough studies, past decisions from previous administrations that have caught up with us now and put us in a bit of a bind. I think we're at a point where a discussion about not only a building moratorium, but an annexation moratorium is time to have that conversation. I think that's at play right now. There's a lot happening, and I think I think rushing always makes mistakes. And we're at that point. Everything is being rushed, and we haven't stopped to look at the big picture, take a breath, and assess the impact of everything that's happening in our community. So I think we as a group have felt the pressure, and I think that we're at a point where we need to hear from folks and how you feel. This is your community. You're impacted as much as the decisions we make and previous administrations have made, and we need to make sure we do good by you. And we're at that point where a serious conversation needs to happen. Dan?
Mr. Scow?
Well, I look at it as pros and cons. Unfortunately, we weren't here over the past administration, but it does seem a little hard-paced for me. I cut my teeth as a general contractor up in Jackson, and they've had multiple moratoriums when they had to get a handle on things that were getting out of their hands. And I don't see any negative impact on taking time. It's just time. I think there's some positives to it. I think we would at least have time to get a land use development dialed in. We'd also have the possibility of having a proper master plan, something that's not from 2006. This is 2024. A lot has happened. We're on the other side of the river. that's the way it was. It was only this side of the river. And now we're talking about going, you know, all the way south and going all the way to the border of Idaho. I think there's a lot of issues that needed to be worked through, understood. I think legal representatives should be weighing in on it. I'm not an expert, but I've been doing this a really long time, and I think time is on our side if we choose to take it.
Okay?
My thought is we need to look closely at water and sewer capacities on a lot of decisions that have been made and are being made. We need traffic studies on a lot of decisions that have been made and are being made. We need to look at potential impact fees. Those haven't been made. We need to look at, we were fortunate enough earlier this year to raise some of our fees to be compatible with where we are in 2024. And that was done, and I believe effectively, and it needed to happen because this town, it's not a good idea to lose money as a municipality. So I think that was a good move. But there are so many reasons to stop and take a breath, because I believe planning and zoning and town council has a fiduciary responsibility to every resident here to look at capacity studies, impact fees, everything that is taxpayer dollars. We need to understand the magnitude of the decisions that have been made, and we're about to annex potentially 32 acres, which will be the last of the large annexations into our town, and I'm not convinced we're at capacity or have capacity for that. And there's a lot of back and forth, and Jim can shed some light on that, but I, as someone on this committee, am very nervous about some decisions that are being made. And so I'm very comfortable asking council to perhaps implement an emergency annexation and building moratorium within the next 48 hours so we can stop for 30 days, take a breath, and decide how long is it going to take us to do these studies. Is it a 3-month moratorium, 6-month moratorium, 9-month moratorium? You can't build here starting, November 1st? It's a good time for this, but that's what we need the moratorium for. We need to look, I've heard of these water sewer capacity studies. I haven't seen anything. I just keep hearing that they're happening, but I haven't seen, none of us have seen anything. We need to see what this looks like. So I think that's the basis for the moratorium. We need to see how it's really going to affect us. This is important. We're making decisions without knowing. I'm very uncomfortable with that.
You know what, you're absolutely correct as far as the concerns that our town has faced with the sewer capacity, and you're absolutely correct. That has been brought up many times in all the town council meetings, that we need to find out what our sewer plant is capable of and what exactly do we have out on the table as far as the folks who've already been earmarked for annexation into the town and I have heard many of expressions from some of the town council members about that concern, and that's a valid concern. We don't want to annex people in that we can't serve, and if we can't follow through with the promise that we've promised to these folks. And
that's what a moratorium is all about, folks. It's about taking a pause and focusing on what needs to happen to secure these annexations. We need to know what we're doing, and we're going into all of this blindly at this point, issuing permit after permit after permit after permit. When do we stop to say, gosh, can we really service all this?
So let's unpack this a little bit more too. Instead of just by saying that we've done permit after permit, let's have clarification here. We don't just issue them out.
Well,
like
based
we
on
go
approval.
Through, so we have some new faces
obviously
in the crowd, so
yeah.
just want to make sure everybody's aware. So we definitely have a
There's
really
an
good
approval
approval process. The concern I've got is some of the folks that are building in the town as of now, R1, R2s, there's a lot of different homes that are being built. A moratorium like this, as we discussed,
Would
makes it a
ex-
little bit of a challenge
Would
for those
exclude,
folks.
well, I personally believe that a potential building and annexation moratorium should exclude R1 and probably R2. Dan, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think if you're gonna look at it as in a commercial statement, R2, anything R2 and above.
Including
I would say
R2?
R1 is, a single-family residence. Every subdivision has really been plotted and, we're only dealing with small lots. When we're dealing with annexing, what is county, we also have to think about, these are wells, people have wells and septic, and how does all that infrastructure all tie together? We haven't come up with any of that. No, the town's engineer hasn't done any of that.
They're working on it.
Yep, but we don't have any data to really go by. And it's, until we get that, until we understand what's gonna happen when we annex things with septic and is it a benefit to us? I don't, I haven't seen a cost breakdown analysis of any of this, so I'll take the slow road and say, it worked up north really well. And they got a handle on it. They didn't stop working. They actually worked hard once they set that in motion because they wanted the community to grow. But I think if that ever happens, it becomes a big roundtable discussion from us to the town board to say, okay, this is what we want it to look like. And I think it's gonna have Jim legally helping us doing it the right way, but I see there's so many concerned people, and it's like, I don't wanna do anything that we're gonna regret later. And I think if we were to allow all these things to happen without the prior proper planning and the data up front, we could be regretting some stuff. So, that's my 2 cents.
So, it was mentioned R1. Now, one of the plans that we looked at, or just, it was a conceptual plan. It wasn't anything that was set on the books or anything. It was just a conversation that was had with P&Z. There were R1s on that annexation, on that.
Ah,
So, I mean, that makes it a little bit more of a challenge than just saying, well, just a blanket, well, we'll keep the R1s going. So that's something that,
but that hasn't been annexed in.
no, but if we're gonna not put a moratorium on R1s, then,
Well, but they also
Makes
said
it a
it
little
wasn't
bit
set in
challenging.
stone.
yeah.
So we don't know what it's gonna be.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's the hardest part about the annexation process, especially from where I sit, is we're taking a developer's,
Their word,
yeah,
yeah.
and saying, oh yeah, it's gonna be like this, and it'll be great, and it'll be grassy green, and we'll have beautiful pink skies, and it'll be perfect. I've never seen a development ever do that, ever. I've been doing this a really long time. Developers try to get exactly what they want, when they want it, for as cheap as they can get it. And respectfully, we have to set up a program where an annexation, if you're coming in and you're gonna have land available for development, show us what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, that,
Don't come to us with pie in the sky and, oh, we're gonna have a restaurant, we're gonna have this and that,
yeah.
Because those things change.
Yeah, and that piece that you're mentioning, I've seen 5 iterations. I have no clue what it's gonna end up with, and I don't wanna make that call. So, does that deserve a pause? I think it does.
So,
There hasn't been that much transparency there.
Yeah.
I tried to get them here, and we did have one meeting, but I still don't know what's going on. None of us do.
Well, that's fun. Oh, wonderful, wonderful meeting. No, and, I can absolutely see both sides. I can understand where folks are coming from as far as wanting the moratorium, and I can see the other side of, like I said, our homeowners who are trying to build their little niche in our little community. So having a blanket moratorium is a little bit of a challenge. And I don't know where we would stand, Mr. Sampson, as if
All
we,
depends on your
if we ask for a moratorium on any annexations, if that is something that has to go up with the town council, sir.
Have to be with the town council.
So what we can do, from what I understand, is we can ask the town council to maybe discuss this and see what you guys think as far as putting a moratorium on any annexations until we get that water.
Sewer potential
what was
impact
that?
fees.
Do y'all know what that was, what the actual plan was called that they're putting together? The cost, no, not the master plan. I think it was Jorgensen working on how much ERUs we have, how much sewer.
Sewer study.
Yeah,
that's a
sewer,
water and
study, is that what
sewer
it was
study.
technically called?
Yeah.
Okay, sewer, water, okay. So I wonder if maybe we can ask them to, because all we are is an advisory committee. That's all we do here. We can approve building permits pending inspections, but all we can do is maybe advise our town council, our elected leaders, to put a moratorium on them if they so need.
I believe we can make a motion.
To send a letter to the town council and see how they feel, see what they think.
Run it up around the table.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best thing we can do. I mean, like I said, they're all
Well-
valid points, but I hate to see our homeowners building their homes.
Well, I was hoping to exclude the R1s, but I think hearing from some of you in the audience would be a good thing too at this point.
So maybe,
I don't know how that's going to work with certain potential annexations, but again, nothing's set in stone.
right.
We have no idea.
So maybe what we'll do is put forth a motion on the table, and then we'll have some discussions, open discussions. Okay?
So I'll
I'll look for a motion. You
I'll
wanna-
make it.
you
How
wanna
about
get
I
on the
make-
mic?
I think they can all hear me.
Okay.
I make a motion that we send a letter to the town council for the 30-day
Emergency.
emergency moratorium
On,
on anything commercial R2 and above.
is that just, so for clarification, we talked about annexation as well? Or do we want to do this for all of the building, or do we want to just do this for
No,
annexation?
I think you do it in two parts. I think you do moratorium on commercial building, 1, and then you do a moratorium on annexation, 2.
An emergency moratorium is a 30-day temporary moratorium. It gives us time to discuss.
Let's have, we've got a motion on the table. Yeah, you're fine. We have a motion on the table. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Now further discussions, please. Sorry.
So it gives us time to sit back and say, okay, based on what we need to do, how much time is that going to take us? Do we have an official moratorium announcement for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months? I don't think it'll take a year. We need to look at how much work is involved and look at the studies and look at the concrete elements of what we're dealing with so we can make some really good decisions without making mistakes and regretting it later. We need the time to do this, and we don't have it, and we haven't had it.
And it's so difficult because we as a town, for years, we've always wanted commercial.
And-
We've always wanted our restaurants, we've always
Desperately.
wanted our shops, we've always wanted these things. And now it seems like we're just gonna say, oh, haha, psych.
Yeah.
So it makes it a little bit of a challenge.
Well, and that's what I think
But I
part
can see
of
both
this
sides.
pause is about, because I can tell you in planning and zoning, we see a lot of MRC employee housing come across this desk.
Yeah.
A lot. And so I'm saying, okay, well, where are we all going to eat?
And I want to interject.
Yeah, you're good. We're having a conversation.
Are we a bedroom community for Jackson? Is that all we're going to be? Is that all you want? Apartments, condos, people living here, driving up the canyon? Sooner or later, there are going to be 4 lanes going up that canyon because we can't move the traffic. You know, they're going to tear that thing apart because we can't manage it all. You saw what happened when the pass was closed. Holy cow. That was no fun.
Any public comment? And if you do want to comment, we do ask that you get on the mic, unless you guys are all here for something else that we're not aware of.
I'll just do a quick comment.
Please, sir. State your name for the record, boss.
My name's Tim Hartnett. I used to be on the board, and my only issue with not annexing is when if you put a moratorium on annexing, the developer can build under Lincoln County standards, which are surprisingly a lot lower than what the town of Alpine is. So they might go ahead and build anyway, and then they won't have to build it to town of Alpine standards. So,
That's a valid point.
yeah, so think about that.
And they want our sewer and water, and they'll have to pay
Correct.
dearly.
They'll have
pay
to,
dearly for it.
they'll have to pay for that, yeah. Otherwise, they'll put in their own substandard water and sewer system.
Yeah.
If it's Lincoln County, they don't really give a heck about us, so.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you.
Good point.
Appreciate it. Yes, sir. Okay.
Hi, my name's Andrew Brooks. So I live over on the Alpine Air Park, and we've been coming to Alpine since about 2011 and full-time here for the last 5 years. So what I would recommend and say it's sort of been my observation and all this stuff is it seems to me like what's bubbled to the surface very recently, and I've only become aware of all this maybe in the last 2 weeks or so, is there seems to be an inordinate amount of pressure that's being put on the council and planning regarding varying projects, annexation, giving away land to really what people love about Alpine is that it's not Jackson and that it has its own aspects of beauty where there's open space. It's not jammed in and crowded. We need restaurants here, trust me. We need housing to be able to have people that are there. We need shops that are attractive to people as they come through. And there's a way to go about doing this that is thoughtful and planned. And what I've noticed in Alpine over the last 10 plus years is that the town has kind of gone about things in a very hodgepodge manner. You see, an RV park pop up here. Then there's a market here. And then, I've developed myself a lot of healthcare property, about 150,000 feet in California, and dealt with all the cities, Beverly Hills, Santa Monica, Westlake Village, Irvine. There's a lot of planning that goes in with these things, and you make an area that's like, this is for medical. This is where shopping's going to be. This may be multi-use, residential and shopping. And really what I strongly urge the city to do, and if the city doesn't have the funds, you could raise funds privately that really have no bias from a developer, but just there's a way to go about doing this where you can set a master plan up that zones everything in a way that really outlives whoever's on the council, who's ever the mayor at be, and it's set in advance, and that's really the way to go about it. And there's a smart way to do it. Alpine is at a crossroads here.
We are.
And you've got to make a lot of decisions, like what you do with your infrastructure, what you can support, where things should be, where proper housing is. You want to have a school, where should a school be? Probably not in the flight path of a runway, probably not in your prime land that is one of the major assets that you own. So I just, from my vantage point, and I know a lot of folks that live around this town that necessarily don't want to stand up and say this, but everybody does uniformly feel that the town should invest in a master plan. A moratorium should not be a permanent thing. I'm completely opposed to that. The town needs to develop and grow, but it needs to be done in a rational, smart, thoughtful way. And that's really what I would just implore you folks and the city council and whoever. And there's a lot of people who have a lot of experience who are willing to put their time in
Yeah.
voluntarily, and you all certainly do. You're not
We-
being
we
paid
love
big
it.
bucks for this. So, there's resources at your disposal, and there's lots of folks that I can bring to the table who live here, who have invested tens of millions of dollars into this town, who want to see the town become something that is really something very special, and Alpine is very special. That's why we're all here. So
Right.
I just strongly encourage a
Perfect.
master plan, and thank you for the time.
And just for clarification, as far as I understand, we're not giving away land to the school, just for clarification.
Well-
As far as I know, I only know
Yeah.
a minimal amount.
So what you should understand about schools, and you should read.
And I think that's going to be a conversation we'll have next, if I
Yeah.
recall correctly.
Well, you can do your own diligence, but a charter school actually has more rights than the city does.
Okay,
So,
we'll check that out for sure then, yeah.
so that actually supersedes, there's a lot of stuff with aspects of that that just sit within the law, and you should understand kind of what you're signing up for. So,
Perfect, thank you for letting us know.
my pleasure.
See what we
Thank
can
you.
find out. Okay. Anybody else?
How's it going? Justin Scott, town resident. I also agree with Andrew, just kind of wanted to make a few notes. We talked about a master plan for, I don't know, I've been here for 19 years. It's been going on for that long, so if you don't do that, people are going to get anxious like they are now. Like, hey, where's the master plan? We're just going to do what we need to do. So I certainly suggest to the P&Z, to the town council, to the mayor, let's put that on top priority. Secondly, on your moratorium, certainly agree, and hopefully the town council will respect the three of your decision. And if they don't, I will be very disappointed.
Thank you.
Yeah, just put it forward.
Hi, my name's Anessa Melnick. I am a resident of Alpine. I want to start by saying whenever I talk to anyone in Utah, Idaho, around Wyoming, I say I live in Alpine. They're like, oh my goodness, I love Alpine. And this has been around across like a consensus with everyone. They always wish they can live here. And so I would love to see it grow like how it needs to grow. There's so much potential in this town to continue to be the most beautiful town in Wyoming if there's a plan and a vision. So, and so I would like to know what everyone's vision for this town is before it does makes any more decisions. For example, I know there's a hotel put up that's blocking evening lights from the community over there. I'm sorry, I don't know the name of all those communities. And it's also people from the hotel could look into these houses. I mean, I would not want to live where a hotel gets put up at 3 or 4 stories with a single family home. What's another one? Oh, and the entrance to our town, there's a new big, I don't know if it's a hotel or housing, whatever's next to the hospital. I mean, you know, we can't see Black Mountain, we can't see McCoy Creek. It's just a big square building that we can see as soon as we enter our town now. We'd love to get started on the 23 acres that's going over here, but I'll wait for another day for that. And I don't know, I would just love to see, like everyone's saying, a downtown, a master plan, like where are these things gonna go? Where are we gonna have what did you mention, like a grocery store? Like where are people who are visiting our town gonna eat? Shop? Like can we get, I don't know, some sort of arts center or something to really build a community? Because I vote in favor of this moratorium because like this is a great town and this is all a lot of us have. You know, I mean, we love it and we want it to remain beautiful and be home for us. So, thank you.
Okay. Oh, yes, ma'am.
I don't have a whole lot more to add. I made a list of concerns and actually.
Who are you?
I'm so sorry. Heather Goodrich. Sorry. Resident of Alpine. I have school-age kids. I'm also an educator. I have lived in Alpine for almost 10 years, and I absolutely love it. Want to die here. I think I appreciate a lot of what you brought up. My biggest concern, number one thing I wrote was master plan. We have so many big decisions on our plate right now. I'm really concerned about the 32-acre annexation. I understand what you're saying. Like, would it be better to have it annexed as opposed to in Lincoln County where, you know, we have less control over it? But also one concern I have is, does the town really have a deep understanding of the annexation and what's in all of it? I feel like every time I've come to a town council meeting where because we're on the 3rd reading next, right? Where they've talked about the annexation, there were so many questions that were like, well, we'll find out about that. We'll look into that. And I feel like we're just going so fast that this is happening a lot, right? Without a master plan, how do we know that this 23 acres is the right place for a school? How do we know there's not a better place for it? How do we know anything if we don't have a master plan? How are we not just creating this, as been said, hodgepodge? I'm really in favor of traffic studies, especially. Traffic is a nightmare in Jackson right now. I don't want that to be us. So the last thing I want to say is, in terms of this 23 acres, very concerned about tying that to a charter school without deeply understanding that. I have heard that that acreage is proposed, that acreage is going to be used to leverage financing for the school. If the school goes under, do we lose that land? So, like, there's a lot, but where if we do a 100-year lease, that land is effectively not, can't be used. So, and again, that's prime land right on the reservoir. I always envision like a board, a river walk and that part of that. So is that really the best place for a school? And I feel like we should have a lot of say in the school that goes there if we're going to use public land for it. So the biggest thing, I think, is just, please, moratorium so we can have a master plan.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, ma'am, what was your name? I'm sorry.
Heather.
Sorry, Miss Heather. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. Oh, yes, ma'am, please.
Hey, everybody. My name is Megan Rumsey. I've been here for about 4 years, moved in March of 2020, kind of a weird time to meet neighbors. I think the moratorium is very important. Let's just take a little breath. I'm not anti-new neighbors, anti-construction, but speaking of new neighbors, it's been a heck of a process with the house going up next to me with just like the general, I don't know, politeness not being observed. And that's one thing, but as I see just these hotels going up, maybe they could be oriented in slightly different directions to make it more attractive for the community. And it kind of comes down to, where do we want to live, and can we even look 20 years into the future? Because 20 years isn't that far, but the master plan is a great idea. I applaud that idea. We need to have a plan for kids riding their bicycles to a school before we even start talking about a school. We have so many conversations to have together because we all care about each other, and this is where we live, this is our community. But I also wanted to say, members who are our electeds, who are speaking on our behalf, you have a fiduciary duty to us. So that is a legal or ethical obligation to act in our best interests. And that's a very big responsibility because you are making financial decisions. And I'd go so far as to say, if that duty is not taken seriously, that you would hold some financial liability for that. And that's not to be, maybe it's not. This is just one person's opinion who's, but
legally,
yeah, and let's keep it at that. Yeah. I have seen so many opinions in this, and one opinion that I saw, and I'll share mine, is I saw a gentleman who owns an air park who kind of comes in and acts like this is his airport, and this is a town. So I can sit down with him and have a real polite conversation, just like I can sit down with Dave Jenkins. But what I don't like is when comments get put on the public record that confuse the parcels that we're talking about and make people in Alpine think we were always talking about this land on the border of a prime reservoir. If one kid gets hit by a car, one kid drowns, all the what ifs. We have too many what ifs to go forward now. So just taking a pause on the moratorium. And Mr. Hartnett, I hear you. I hear your concerns about the quality of building. I would hope if somebody who lives here would have a vested opportunity and they invest enough in us, like we invest in them to let them do their projects, that they would think enough about us not to build a piece of shit for our community. Pardon my French. So that's all I have to say. I'm your friend. Nice to meet y'all.
Thank you.
All right, so any other further discussions? Oh, there was two hands.
Sure.
Mr.
Come on up. Come on up.
Shay Scafidi, Alpine resident, 20 years, and raised 2 children here. And kind of what I want to focus on, I wanted to kind of hear public comments. Wyoming does allow for local governments, such as town councils, to impose temporary moratoriums through their zoning and land use regulations. They're typically enacted as an emergency measure to pause development when there are concerns about the community's infrastructure, housing market, or environmental impact. Number one, we're facing a gravel pit expansion. We're facing annexation of 32 acres. We're facing large 3-apartment buildings across the street, which would affect traffic if a school is put on public land. That's one piece of the pie. Moratoriums are typically grounded in the Wyoming Planning and Zoning Act, which grants municipalities the power to regulate land use for the purpose of health, safety, and general welfare. I think where we're at is there's no specific statewide moratorium law in Wyoming that directly governs the implementation of such halts. Instead, local governments have the discretion to issue them under their general land use planning powers. I am not an attorney, so I defer to Jim, but I do.
You're going well.
Okay, good.
I said stop.
Yay. I think I want to cite a few things. So I started to deep dive, impact fees, what's going on. Started to look at Thane and Afton. I feel like that's a great dynamic to look at. Afton, I have to give it to them. They have impact fees, and they are tied to water and sewer. So you have resident impact fees, you have non-resident impact fees for water and sewer. Then you start to go down into a residential tie-on, and then you go all the way to a commercial tie-on. Those are impact fees that go into reserves to pay for our $20 million sewer plant we may need in however many years when our water and sewer study is complete. So for me, that's kind of where I feel like that's where we have to spend 6 months of a moratorium beyond the master plan, absolutely. But number two, if we do not get these impact fees tied to hookups, we're literally giving millions in infrastructure away that, I hate to say it, but those people in this room, we're going to be paying. So that's my biggest concern. And I think recently on June 5th, Jackson passed an emergency moratorium. They had a 300,000 square foot hotel that was ready to go. And overnight, they passed an emergency moratorium because it was like, wait, this goes beyond what we're comfortable with. So I also noticed Afton did one. Afton had a slated 200, I don't want to misspeak, but 200 homes, 200 lots. Their town council did an emergency moratorium and said, wait, we're not sure what to do with this. How will it affect our town? So at the end of the day, I just feel like all of this points to our town council being, as Megan said, a fiduciary responsibility to us that we aren't left with the price tag. In my line of work, you know, development is development, and that's a paycheck. But for me, and I will say to Mo's comment, there's been commercial for sale for 15 years, and we still don't have restaurants. So I do want to make it very clear, that has always been on the table. There are many commercial lots. We see 4 Pines, amazing development with physical therapy living on top. I think restaurants are just difficult. So until a developer builds a commercial restaurant or a commercial kitchen to rent out, we're chasing something that's not attainable at the moment. So the annexing of 32 acres, and we don't know what that will do to us, is really deplorable, in my opinion, as well as, I mean, we'll go into it, but public lands, we need 6 months to breathe. A charter school, where does it go? Annexing, like, why can't we breathe? Guess what? Alpine's not going anywhere. We'll be here. And in 6 months, that's not a long time to ask for a break. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name's Haley Hines, and I'm a resident in Alpine. I'm a 4th grade teacher in Teton County. And I have some comments about the potential moratorium. And I feel like a large part of this is with the annexation of the 23 acres proposed for this charter school. Now, I've heard many people in the community say, this charter school, we have to get it now or we'll never get a school, right? A school is very important in Alpine, and I share the same sentiment. I want a school in Alpine just like everyone else. However, it has to be the right school. And I feel like if a lot falls in our elected officials' laps as council members and as planning and zoning committee to make these monumental decisions that shape our town for the future. While I talk in front of fourth graders every day, I'm not used to talking in front of adults. And so I've written a letter that I am going to share. I used to live in Laramie for 6 years, and I was a teacher there. That's where I started my career. And I've lived in Alpine here for a year and a half, and this is my second year working for Teton County School District. I have major concerns about the proposed charter school, and I think that, like I said, a lot falls in our lap of doing what's responsible for our community. As a teacher, I have 4 rules in my classroom: be respectful, be responsible, be safe, and be a global leader. And I don't think that if we pass, if we don't take a pause to figure out certain things like a master plan and impact studies for this infrastructure, that is responsible to our community. I don't think it's respectful to citizens to push this along with the fear that if we don't approve this school or the land for this school, that we'll never get a school. I don't think it's safe, because I also think that impact studies need to be done. And a global leader, I feel like people look to Alpine, like many people said, to be a community that they would love to live in, and I don't think that this is setting a good precedent. It feels like this is approving this land and approving anything that goes through, feels like putting a cart before the horse without us having things like a master plan. So I thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, I am happy to share a letter that I wrote to the Wyoming Charter Board as well.
You can always submit that for the town council as well, for the meeting. That might be, if you feel, if that's what you'd like to do. Absolutely, just send it into the office. They'll be more than happy to at least submit it to the town council for you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, we do have another meeting after this, so.
Can I just ask one more question?
Nope, you already spoke to him. I'm kidding. What do you need, Bob?
You shut him down.
I did.
Really quick question. What's the difference between a land use development code and a master plan?
The master plan, from what I understand, is a plan for our future and what we want our town to look like for our future development, our future growth.
We've had,
And
we've modified our land use and development code
yes,
many times.
it's a growing
Yeah.
tool that is
So I don't think we
constantly
need to throw
evolving.
out that whole thing.
No,
The LUDC is a living document,
breathing-
basically.
Yes.
It evolves and grows and changes because
Yeah.
the town
As
is
the
evolving.
community changes,
Yeah.
it'll change.
it will change, yeah.
And I moved to Jackson in 1976.
Oh,
And
you
that was
saw it.
when
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
were
you saw it.
first doing their master plan. Their master plan that was gonna end all. And there was never gonna be a
And they've
building
constantly
higher than 2
changed.
stories.
Yeah, and they've constantly changed theirs
Yeah.
as well, yes, sir.
So
Okay,
I think we just maybe don't muddle things and slow things down too much by making a brand-new master plan when we have a pretty good land use development code that we could
But-
modify.
the master plan is from 2006,
Uh-huh.
and it's been brought to our attention that with the way that our town has grown, we have outgrown said master plan.
Okay.
And things have changed so much that we need to do something a little bit different.
Okay.
And try to make it more of a positive, growing community than what we've had in the past. How about
Sounds
that?
good.
Does that sound good? That work for everybody? All right. Oh, yes, sir. Okay, Troy, you're up, Bob.
Troy Johnson, an Alva resident here in Alpine for over 30 years now. I've served town council, planning and zoning. I've been on a lot of the boards. As you can see, what happens without the master plan is what we have right now. I commend you wholeheartedly on the moratorium. I think it's needed. I think it needs to be looked at. And I think we need to stop having stuff shoved through so fast. We're not looking at the long term. We saw it with the Halpin subdivision. Cost the town a lot of money because it was shoved through. Their sewer didn't work. We had to put in a sewer system for them and then water. So I do commend you on that. They're giving away land for schools. Nothing's free.
No.
Nothing's ever free. And they kept saying, it's free, it's free, it's free. It's not free. It's costing the town a lot of money in land. So I just wanted to stand up and say I commend you for that, but look at your past and don't repeat it.
Nope, and we'll do our best to learn from previous mistakes. Okay, all right, we have a motion on the table. No more discussions? All right,
Who made that motion?
you made the motion. Do we need to revisit said motion?
No.
'Cause
And we're calling for an emergency 30-day temporary moratorium to evaluate what needs to happen and the reason for an extended moratorium. Should it be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year? Doubtful. But we need to look at what needs to happen in the next 3 to 6 to 9 months and what studies need to happen in order to validate what we're doing. Otherwise, I think we're being irresponsible.
Yeah, and we'll just put, we'll ask the town council for this and, okay, I have a motion on the table. Yes, sir, boss.
You can choose to accept what I have to say or ignore me, it's up to you. So going through the case law on this, it appears that planning and zoning boards have to submit a proposed resolution to the governing body. So you need to do it in the form of resolution, explain exactly what your findings are from the hearing, that, you know, we have testimony we received of problems or concerns with unmitigated growth and lack of planning and the ability to provide proper services to the people who are currently in the town and possible future residents of the town. So you need to have these findings in your resolution and then specifically ask what you're asking for.
So not just a letter of recommendation to the town?
Not just a, yeah,
council. Okay.
I think if we want to survive any challenge to it, like, we need to follow what the Supreme Court has said in other cases. And it
Yes, sir.
seems to start out with a resolution. Now, can we get by without that? That's questionable, but let's just do it what they suggested first, okay? And put your time frame in and why you're saying this time frame. Obviously, it may be adopted differently when it gets to the governing body, but at least you have a basis from what you're going off of, okay? So the next thing is timing on the emergency. So if you're gonna have an emergency hearing on a moratorium, you have to ratify that decision within 48 hours. So that would require calling a special meeting of the town, publishing notice, et cetera. If you want to get it before the next town council meeting, the next town council meeting is middle of October, okay? Is that too late? I don't know, you guys decide. And you probably want to talk to Monica as far as scheduling on that, okay? So, those are my suggestions.
That was a lot of suggestions. I could not
I'm
take
glad
as
we're
many
keeping it
notes.
so we can go back and get that.
Nothing else.
We can handle it.
Okay, I know you can.
Okay, so, should we remove said motion off the table and reevaluate what
No.
our thought process was?
No.
According to, but this is just a letter, though. We just, when we suggested the original motion, it was, to draft a letter to the town council stating. these
So
things.
now we'll
But
draft a
now-
resolution.
Now we have to do,
However,
Just do a motion to amend your motion.
I'll make a motion to amend my motion.
do what Mr. Sanders said.
How's that? And we can start from scratch.
Miss Christine, is that clear as mud for you, boss? Because you're the one who has to
Work
put
with
this
us.
all together.
right.
Okay.
So state your amendment.
I'm trying to work it in my head. Because it really is, I want to amend the prior motion of sending a letter to the town council for an emergency moratorium for annexation and for
Building permits.
building, for
Commercial.
commercial building,
To a resolution.
to a resolution. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I was gonna bring that back in, but, yeah, what he said.
Okay, do we need to clarify that, Miss Christine? Are you good with that?
I want to make sure that I'm understanding you correctly.
Please, yes, ma'am.
Your motion is for a moratorium for commercial building and annexation. Is that correct?
Correct, there were two parts.
Oh,
Well, just,
Well,
so his motion is to amend the original motion to send a letter.
Exactly.
Right,
But I
so-
just want to make sure I have the commercial building aspect of it and the annexation
Correct.
aspect of it. Okay, commercial
Yes.
building.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything from R2 on up.
So that's different
Well,
in my,
Oh, yeah, and our, yeah. a little bit.
okay,
R2 and up, okay.
R2
that's-
and
That's
up.
why I'm asking,
Correct.
Yes,
because I
please
thought
do.
I heard something different before.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm gonna cross.
To a resolution.
okay, to a resolution. Now,
I'm just, yes, sir? No, I'm.
It's,
I'm
we're
listening.
confused.
I guess the question is, can you get it done in 48 hours?
Can,
Well,
Oh,
just a second, stop there. Now, you need to vote on the amendment.
The amendment, yes.
Okay.
So I have a motion on the table. Do I have a second?
I will second that motion.
Okay, any further discussion? We're all clear as mud. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Now you have, you're gonna vote on
The resolution.
the amended motion to send a resolution to the governing body.
Okay. So I make a motion that we send the amended resolution to the governing body concerning, what was that concerning?
No,
I'm so good at it.
let's stop for a second. So your original motion was to send a letter, right?
Correct.
Right.
So you
We amended.
amended that motion to send a resolution. So now that motion, the original motion is amended to resolution. So we're
Now we have
voting
to
on the motion to send the resolution.
And state the parameters of said resolution.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so now, we have to state the parameters of said resolution, which is, let's see here, we wanted to do a moratorium of 30 days on the commercial building and the annexation, if I recall correctly. Okay. From what I was understanding from what Mr. Sanderson said, was that we have to give them a time frame. You said within 48 hours?
No, we have to
No, I
pre-
just said your time frame. You gotta think about your time frame. If you're asking for an emergency meeting.
Okay.
And because the emergency meeting, if you're gonna do that, you can do it without publication of notice, but whatever is decided in the emergency meeting has to be adopted within 48 hours at a regular
Councilman.
council meeting.
Special meeting, yeah.
Or if you're gonna go through a special meeting, there's parameters as far as how far out we gotta give notice on special meetings, so. Okay.
Well, that's gonna be fun.
Yes.
So, now,
Do you want some advice?
yes, this is the first time we've had Big Brother here to help us out. We've been,
We really need you here.
yes.
Do your resolution, send it to the council, and then you can suggest we would like this as emergency as quickly as possible, and then we can
Okay.
go about and figure it out.
So we're not, our feet aren't gonna be held to the fire if we don't
Right.
get it done within 48 hours.
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
You just had me concerned with the 48 hours.
Well,
I
I'm
think
just
we
telling
all
you,
did, yeah.
she was talking about emergencies, and to be,
Oh,
we talked on the phone about this yesterday. Yeah, there is a process, you can do it emergencies, but, just so that things
Okay.
are clear. Okay.
Okay, so, are we good with the said resolution, or should we try it again, Miss Christine? Are we good, or no? Okay, so I have a
Fantastic.
motion for a resolution on the table. Do I have a second?
I will second that
Okay,
motion.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Sorry, folks. All right, let's go through, yes, thank you, sir, I appreciate it. Let's go through with our planning and zoning approval of minutes. I'll entertain a motion. Did we all get a chance to read said minutes?
Yeah, and that's, I think that, one of the pieces that we wanted to talk about was, I think it's really important that we do this together
That we
and
read
read
them?
each paragraph.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so if you remember, is this what you recall?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
I
there have been
printed
many
them out
instances
and,
now where I've gone back in and go, wow, I don't recall it being exactly that same way.
yeah, absolutely. I actually printed them out and read them for homework, you know.
Correct.
That wasn't a 633-page document.
So,
Okay.
everything I've read seems to be congruent with all the things that I've said.
I concur. Ms.
Sue?
Sue?
Yes, I looked
Okay.
it over.
So do I have a motion to approve
I make a
minutes?
motion to approve the minutes for September 10th and August 27th.
No,
let's
August
try-
13th.
Let's try the,
August
We gotta go one
13th
at a
and
time
August
first.
27th.
God, you guys are so efficient. Okay. I make a motion to adopt the meeting minutes for August 13th, 2024.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, next.
Make another motion to accept the minutes for August 27th, 2024.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Number 6.
I make a motion that
I can't
To
do it.
adjourn the meeting.
Yeah.
adjourn the meeting.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of September 24th adjourned at 7:28.
28.
Oh, I
I'm
didn't
going
get
to
you.
ask that you all turn your microphones off for a moment.
No, here. Ma'am.
So, I would say, turn on the mic when you. Okay, I'll call this meeting to order. This is Town of Alpine work session, joint work session with Planning and Zoning. And we don't need to take roll. This is just a work session. We have an established agenda that we have up on the TV. If you guys can't see, Luis, you could actually push that TV your way if you need to see that a little bit better. The purpose of this meeting is to go over all the suggested changes for the Land Use Development Code from Planning and Zoning. They've been working basically a full year to get all these things to us, and our intention is to have the first reading of the ordinance changing the Land Use Development Code in October. So this is very timely, and so I appreciate you guys being here and all the hard work you've done, and thank you for all the people that stuck around for this awesome conversation. I hope it's as enlightening as it is to us, for you guys. Okay, so it looks like what Christine has done is basically summarize the changes. Do you guys, okay, if I go too fast through this, I'm gonna just be scrolling through here, but if I go too fast, just let me know. But in general, it looks like the word will is replaced 41 times. Mr. Sanderson will be happy to see that. Lots of procedures, zoning ordinance, development standards, appeals and enforcement rules and interpretations and definitions. So this is just a work session, just so everyone knows, we're not making any decisions here. We're just trying to make sure we're all on the same page with the intent of the changes you want. And then during the town council meeting is when, during the 3 meetings, when we'll really be hashing these things out. Let's see. That's all kind of just summarizes all the changes. So thank you for that, Christine. I'm sure that was a lot of work, but we'll just go through real quick. I will skip through all the wills and shalls, but we'll just know that for the record, Mr. Sanderson, can you just tell us why you prefer the word will over shall? Yes. Not you necessarily, but whoever in this.
Wyoming Supreme Court, these guys that show up in black dresses and make law, they interpret law as far as word will and shall are imperative and should and may are optional. So I just want to make sure that in the sections of the law where there's no option, that it either says shall or will, however it grammatically fits in. And making sure that if there's sections that say should or may, that that's truly a discretionary thing that we want to give either to a board or to a citizen. So that's the reason why.
Okay, so we're fine with will or shall.
Yeah. Because it had a lot of would likes and things like that. And it was, yeah.
So we've dumped as many of those as possible. So I am going to go through, and I'll tell you which page I'm on when I get to it, if that helps you guys. So it looks like page 6, scope of responsibility, they've added, oh good, a really good one right off the bat. Looks like they've added issue violations for non-compliance within the adopted Alpine Land Use Development Code regulations. Mr. Sanderson, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way our system is set up currently, we have an executive branch, a judicial branch,
and a legislative
branch. Okay, so the way it works, it should work currently, is that we have a new code enforcement officer. If Chantel goes out, sees a code violation, say it's in the building code or any other ordinance violation, that she goes and she can write a citation.
She can write a citation or write an affidavit.
Right.
And at that point, it gets passed to my office's prosecutor in the court. And if it's an affidavit, then what I do is a charging information that outlines the charges, maximum penalties, and attaches the affidavit, and that's served on the accused or the
Right.
potential
And it goes through the
violator.
municipal court.
It goes through the court, because that's who has authority to enforce
Right.
fines and whatever we want to do.
Okay, so I guess I would ask you, what's the background behind offering this up as a change?
Actually, it was.
Make sure you have your
Mike's
mic.
on.
I'm sorry. It was chapter 5 and 6 also had enforcement, and now we're getting some feedback on that enforcement piece. I would think that if we were to, right now, say, issue notice for noncompliance, that we're not issuing the violation, but we can notice and scratch out the violation, put notice, it comes back into what you guys want. We can notice anybody
Sure.
of a violation and say, hey, do something about this.
And then you would direct the code enforcement officer to go out there? Okay.
Exactly.
And that's fine.
I think,
Are you
I
good
think,
with that?
I think that's better, because I was a little fearful that you guys were going to be the cops and the,
The
Oh,
lawmakers
no,
and
no,
the
no, we don't have
cops.
time for that, but I can
Just
tell.
wanted to be efficient, Mr. Mayor.
we're already, we lost them, we just.
Is this not interesting to you?
We've never heard that before, but go ahead. Yes, thank you.
So I think I want to circle back to Article 5.2 under enforcement, other powers. The Planning and Zoning Commission or representative is also authorized to perform the following, and it does say issue notices and/or citations for violations. That's if we are made aware. We don't go running around looking for
I
it.
think we need to change the.
That's what
verbiage on
that's what we need to talk about, because it is our job.
that. Okay, make sure I
But-
skip past that when we get there.
Yeah, but I mean, that relates to this.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing. You put leave the notice and
Yes.
take out the other piece.
Yeah, I guess the thing with my question is issuing citations, because then you're saying, you've got to come to court. I guess if you guys have police powers, but you don't have police powers. You can issue the notice, but you don't have police power in the sense that you can go and issue a citation. That's what I'm saying.
Well, then this is written incorrectly.
Yeah, it
But at
needs
the
to
end of the day, we should send a letter violation to if we're made aware.
Yeah.
To the code enforcement officer, who takes it
Yeah.
from there and does their job.
I mean, that's-
As a body of we, do you mean the code enforcer, or do you mean the P and Z?
P and Z, if something is brought to our attention, it's like in real estate, full disclosure. Once you are made aware of something, you have to disclose it by law. So if we are made aware of something, our job is to send a violation, potential violation under a land use development code such and such and such. Here, Ms. Code Enforcement Officer, take over.
So
That's my interpretation of how this works.
Right. So I have a question. So what about you understand somebody's doing something, sending a letter saying, hey, we're going to, have our code enforcement officer come around and investigate this, but you've got 20 days to remedy the situation. Is that a possibility that's within your right to do.
So, and I prefer that. Alpine has always been a town that has been like, hey neighbor, let me help you with your trash. Hey neighbor, let me help you out with this. Instead of like, get rid of your trash, I'm sending out a violation. You know what I mean? So I don't know if
I also think
prefer
that
that.
the way it's laid out is much more formal than it
Yes,
needs to be.
it is formal.
I think if you hear of a violation or something's going on, my suggestion would be just email Chantel and say, this is what we see going on, and let her investigate it.
It's good. That's
her job.
And then, that's exactly her job. And then, so whether we change that or, whether we change that or we clarify whether we change that or just there's knowledge that this is how the process should work, I'm kind of fine with it either way, but.
It says issue notices and/or.
When we get to that, let's get to that.
I think
When
we
get to
clean
that
them up, I think we clean it up the way you want it. I think makes more sense, that it's continuous all the way through, that, because when we're gone and this still follows through,
Yeah.
somebody else is following it, and hey, somebody gave some thought to it.
I agree, and that's what our goal with this in general is, just to make it as easy as possible for future administrations, future employees, future code enforcement officers, future planning and zoning to all be able to work within this document, so. Can you just go over the suggested change just to make sure, or do you have the suggested change, Christine?
What I've written down is issue notice for noncompliance.
Yeah.
So take the word violation out, change it with
Yeah.
notice.
Okay. Thank you. Let's keep going down. If anyone has any comments on that, just please speak up, but that one was kind of a big one that I know, so I just wanna.
That's a good one.
Lots of wills. Okay, here we go. On page 11, this is section, Article 2.2, Section 2 dash,
The numbers are different.
Sorry, you're saying page 11?
On the
On-
very bottom.
yeah, so, it says page 7, sorry.
Okay.
I'm in the order of how, I'll start referring to the bottom of the page.
Sorry.
Number, no problem. Okay, so we're actually on page 8, which is Article 2.2. We're down at H, and it reads, if the property is located in an established subdivision with an active architectural review committee and/or homeowner association, project approval shall accompany the permit application. I think that's fine. As long as, I like the word that you add there, active architectural review committee or homeowners association. Because, let's just say, some new subdivision comes in and they don't have an architectural review committee, and it just gets in this, like, nothing ever happens, and then that's perceived as like holding up the whole project. Like, I just want the, I like active just because it gives us a little wiggle room if we need to move things forward, so.
Absolutely.
Any,
And we actually have that issue right now.
any
So,
comments on that?
It's a good one.
Okay.
No, I'm happy that we're including the HOA.
Yeah.
Keep going, Mo, you're on a roll. Getting ready, just.
Okay, moving on down.
And you're reading out this page number? This page?
Yes,
Okay.
I'll try.
Okay.
I'm past
Either one.
17, 18. Keep going. A lot of wills. I'll keep going, sorry, I'm at 23. 35 is the next one.
Do you have your flow chart, Mr.? Will that help you?
This one right here. This one, you get that?
Yeah, it just, I don't have a copy of that. It's okay, just tell me where the next one is. Okay,
Oh, it's at the front. He's talking about this page. On the very first page.
okay, 35. I could have actually typed it.
Do you want me to make
I
a copy
thought
of
she
this?
had already told us where to go.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, lots of red words.
Yep, so now we're in Article 2. Article
Time to work.
2.3, building permit requirements, we're on page 35. Number 8, site plan indicating the location of proposed buildings, the distances from property line to the front, back, and sides of proposed buildings, also known as building envelope. I think that's pretty clear, and I like that, it's good. We require a site plan already, but that's just adding the words building envelope. Number 10, all new buildings, including additions or remodels to existing structures, require submittal of, why do we have that change?
To make it, oh, can I?
What did it say before, please?
Have your mic.
Yeah, turn your mic on.
To make it clear that not all new buildings, so commercial, residential, MRC, but also to include if you're doing an addition to your home or addition to your commercial building, or if you're remodeling. We felt that it was just a bit clearer to include those because, just to make it clear for the applicant.
Let's see what it said before.
And everything needs 3 plans, so
Yeah.
we get a plan, they get a plan.
Right.
What did it say before? Why the change?
It was just an addition.
It said the words addition.
It's just an addition. We're adding to it.
Okay.
I'm working on getting to my book.
Oh, it used to say just started with 3 sets of scaled site, oh, okay. Okay, that's fine. Submittal of civil engineered site plan, we've covered this one a lot in town council meetings, and thank you, Dan, for bringing this. I think this is probably a bigger discussion, but I just want to get a feel for what town council, their opinion of this is. This is for basically civil engineer plans for everything above R1. So R2, MRC, commercial, it would include light industrial, community facilities, and recreation and conservation. Any questions or comments?
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but this change came about because if we look at surrounding communities, this is what they require.
It's surrounding communities, but most of your problems that have come here in the past with your developments have come because you don't require it.
Right.
And because engineering now, water and sewer is safety, it's, most communities mandate that when you're doing a development, you have to have that. Because you're doing things on a scale that's not residential.
Right.
You're not doing a 4-inch sewer. You can be doing a 6-inch or an 8-inch sewer. And the code is very explicit as to, once you go up in those standards, you have to provide so much more that nobody here, I'm not qualified to understand that.
Right.
Engineers are qualified to understand it, we just know how to follow it. So we don't build those things. We're hoping that an engineer comes in, defines all of it.
Yes.
So we follow that.
I think the other major advantage is we have old existing infrastructure.
Huge.
And so tying into that, and they have to do their due diligence before. So I think this is great. Mo and I kind of agreed definitely that for R1, I just did an addition. If I would have had to pay a civil engineer to do that, I don't even know how much it would have cost, but it would have been, a lot more money than I wanted to pay. So.
Sure, and I think that on the scale, when we're working up north, when you're building 16,000 square feet and you're dealing with 10 bathrooms, it's on a different scale than like a resident like yours.
That's in line with like a multifamily around
Sure,
here.
but that's the kind of stuff that could be coming in. You've got the air park, if you go look at an air park set of drawings, your civil pages are 4 or 5 pages thick.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. This was a many conversation hours
we
on
talked about that a lot.
discussing this.
So at the bottom of that, page number 12 says, it includes one digital copy and it will be, kept in-house. I'm sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no.
I just want to reword this.
Yes, please.
It's
Which one?
difficult, 12.
Oh.
This is my suggestion. One digital copy of the complete plan set, site plan, and all associated construction documents shall be filed at the time of the application submittal.
So you're removing will be submitted.
Yeah, well, it's already says at the time shall be filed. So it's just a little,
Redundant.
it was
Yeah.
difficult, so it's good. I got the idea.
And then that bottom sentence is okay with you.
My only question is can't they get their architect or engineer to sign a waiver that says we can publish this?
I don't want if I was building a house, I wouldn't.
it's not them,
Yeah.
Oh,
it's the home.
it's the owner? Okay, all right. fine.
You own it.
Yeah, all right, okay. I'm not a copyright attorney. When it was asked, I said, go hire a copyright attorney.
At the language.
Mm-hmm.
So we provide these plans to our engineer, who is a third party.
Mm-hmm.
We could provide it to Jim for some legal review for something, who's a third party. Not that likely, but that says we can't give it to a third party. We're a public entity.
Mm-hmm.
if somebody comes in and requests it, we have to provide it.
Well,
Don't we, or do we?
it
Well, there-
says
no,
in-house
there's-
for internal use only, which is
Right,
what
I
you're
mean,
referring
I
to.
guess what she's saying is if somebody did a public records request, is that what you mean?
That's what I'm saying.
I think this might be followed an exception, somebody's house plan, because, I mean, I guess if I wanted to use my criminal mind to its full potential, I would come in and say, I want house plans of these large houses out at the
Not
airport.
replicate it,
Yeah,
yeah.
and so I just don't
No,
think
I-
that's discoverable.
In all honesty, the conversation that was had was not about house plans, it was about subdivision plans,
Oh.
which is a different scenario.
So-
I could see the site plan piece.
The site plan, well, it's the
Or-
site
or the
plan
civil-
because
or the
it's
civil
special,
side. I can
yeah.
see that,
But I wasn't suggesting you give them the house plans, but my concern with this language was a third party. Can we tell somebody we're not ever giving it to somebody else? That was my only question.
So when I actually spent hours calling Washington DC in the copyright office and working on all this. Yeah, it's a nightmare. It's an actual nightmare, but I read everything I could read to the point of my eyes bleeding. Anyway, you, as a municipality, if someone comes in here and wants to review, whether it's Dan or building department, right, they can come in and look at the plans. You're not allowed to post them on the internet.
On the internet, yeah.
That was the crux of the whole thing.
Nobody was asking.
Yeah, so that was basically what I got out of
Do we need any
hours of
Do
searching.
we need any update to this language that allows us to give it to our engineer or something?
I think it's fine. The digital copy will be kept in-house for internal use.
Yeah.
Internal
Use
use only. That
only.
implies
Im-
That,
engineer
yes,
and will not be provided to any third-party users. Sorry.
yes. I
We,
think that's,
we will only sell your people your plans.
Not without a warrant.
Okay,
thank you, Jim.
moving on down. So I'm past, what's the next? 41, okay. All right, so we're looking at, this is, okay, so is this 41?
C.
Okay, so this is section 2-304. C, your suggested change is applicant to supply the town of Alpine with an exhibit of a company affidavit of surveyor from a land surveyor licensed in the state of Wyoming that is retained by the building owner. The exhibit depicts property corners, setback lines, house placement, and utility improvements. This is a whole nother step compared to, for example, what I did. And what I want to understand is the purpose of it. And as it stands right now, Christine, correct me if I'm wrong, but I just went through this 2 years ago. We go out and whomever digs your hole, and then you have to put corners out where they're going to put the building, right? And then an inspector comes out and says, no? Okay, tell me what the process is.
The surveyor comes out, when you do an addition to a property, you do a detached accessory structure. What we're looking for is we're looking for that affidavit from the surveyor, and this is actually more specific, correct me if I'm wrong, for the initial build, to show, to depict where the house placement is going to be on that property within those setbacks. So I think you're technically talking about something different, because you're talking about a certificate of placement.
Yeah. This is
That's not a certificate of placement.
So
So,
if I
take it
can
away,
add,
Dan.
to do a certificate of placement, they're gonna need your plans, they're gonna have to see where your building sits. They're actually gonna have to come and do a survey for you, find out where your corners, and actually see that your house sits there. Then they're gonna come out and they're gonna stake it. You're gonna dig it. In all of that information they've already gathered, they're gonna put it on a piece of paper. They're gonna say, this is where your addition's going, this is where your house is going, this is where your corners are, this is where your driveway is, everything is here. We want that piece.
Okay,
That's what we want.
sounds good. Doesn't sound like any more work. speaking of any more work, the next line you guys added, any work is completed prior to certificate submittal, all work will be removed. I think you need to add by, at the cost of, or by the homeowner or building, the permits owner.
Yeah.
And this is one of those cases where will should be shall. Yeah.
Oh, so if any work is completed prior to the certificate submittal, all work shall be removed
Be removed.
at the cost,
The
at the owner's expense.
That's a great.
That is great.
Okay, moving on.
Moving on. Oh,
Next page. Construction activities. I think we spend a lot of time here on when people can do what they want, when they can build. The only real question I have is like 2/3 of the way down, it says, any activities that occur for 3 consecutive days will be subject to violation.
Well, in that case, it may be subject to violations, because, I mean,
Who knows if someone.
who knows? Yeah, I mean, that's a may there. Because you gotta give yourself some discretion. Are you gonna go out, I mean,
The question is, any activities need to be clarified that occur for 3 consecutive days. Are you saying construction activities will happen throughout the entire time that you have a building permit, right? And then, I don't understand this 3 consecutive days.
So it's not really based on, sorry. It's not based on a building permit. Let's say you're building a gazebo, or you're building something in your back deck, and you got equipment, you got jackhammers, and you're doing stuff. And you're so excited, but you're doing it at 11 o'clock in the morning. When your neighbor next door has been listening to this for 3.5 days, and his kids can't sleep, you're in violation.
This was a continual conversation, because
You've had a lot of discussions.
yeah, I mean, because a lot of us will work on, I work on my fence and everything on the weekends, because that's when we do it, or when I can come home from work, and it's gonna be late, and so.
So, but your example, you would have had a permit for that.
Nope.
Why wouldn't you have pulled a?
You wanna bust rocks? There's no permit for busting rocks.
You mentioned a deck. Don't you have to have a permit?
You
for-
could put a stone deck in.
Yeah, you don't need a permit for that.
So you could be doing stuff, it's like the consideration rule. If you're gonna have a noise ordinance, you're gonna have to look at the construction aspect of it. Because most of what we hear in my subdivision isn't my neighbor, it's a guy pounding at 5:30 in the morning, and the guy with his headlamp on at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother problem.
And that's, so we're trying to, if it goes on, let's say you're doing it for 3 days, 4 days, when does it stop? I mean, obviously, you would be going to your neighbor, because you're a good neighbor. You'd
Yeah, I
go
would
to
say,
your neighbor
hey,
and
listen,
you'd say,
I'm doing some work on
neighbor,
my
I'm gonna be
whatever.
doing some stuff, it
Yeah.
might be a little loud for a while.
Yep.
But some people aren't that courteous, so.
And so the consideration, the way that the 3 of us met in the middle was like, okay, so it's a big 3-day weekend, we've all done it, get a bunch of stuff
Right.
done in the springtime, and usually that's a 3-day weekend.
Yep.
So in theory, a lot of us homeowners are gonna try to do our best to get everything done within those 3 days. So,
Yeah,
that
I mean,
was, that was a middle ground that we were trying to come up with. But I have a really hard time with this one as well, so Sue and I had many conversations.
okay, well,
And only from my past lives in other areas, I can tell you
And
that
I can see where she's coming
I go
from, too.
bonkers when it's midnight and I can hear someone
that's
in their
ridiculous.
garage doing construction.
okay, so this is how I read this, if I'm trying to enforce this. So, construction activities are okay as long as it's from 7 AM to 7 PM during the weekdays, and 8 AM to 6 PM on the weekends during the months of May through November, correct? That's what you want done, right?
That basic summer when the weather's good. and
During the months of May, okay, during the months, and that's why we need to change the on the months and on regular to during. During the months of December through April, the activity will be between 7 AM and 5 PM during weekdays, and 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. during weekends and legal holidays. So, if I'm doing it more than 3 days straight during this off time, December, April, that's what may incur a penalty. Is that what you're trying to say?
Or are you trying to say throughout the
And
entire year?
Or is that the whole entire year?
it's that time of the year and that time of the summer. So you have 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on the summer.
8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on the weekends and legal holidays during the December through April is
Correct.
what it reads.
Anything after that, after 3 days, becomes a violation.
Okay.
This is year-round, though, because your May through November, December through April covers the entire year,
We-
right?
Well,
And I think you also need to add any construction activities. I mean, it's kind of obvious, but
see, I guess because here's my conflict and the ambiguity in this is, so if construction activities are occurring for 3 consecutive days, may be subject to violations year-round, but your statute says you can have construction activities during the week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. during the summer months and on weekends, but then you're going and say anything that's going on for 3 consecutive days will be subject to violations. Does that mean I can only work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday during the summer?
yeah, that's what I can't.
Yeah, this is the ambiguity.
And then you have to take
That's
it
the
off.
thought process,
Yeah,
Yeah.
have to reword that.
yeah, that, I mean,
That makes sense.
so tell me what you're trying to, what is the malum prohibitum that we're trying to do here?
Basically, we want folks to be good neighbors. We want them to, like we all do here at this table, I assume, is like, hey, I'm gonna do some construction work this weekend, just a heads up. I'll be making noise.
Right.
But we basically just wanna keep somebody from keeping their neighbor up till midnight on a Wednesday night and by just pounding in their garage for no good reason. Like, unless your car's broke down, it's right in the morning, but in theory, your neighbor's gonna come knock on your door
You
and
know,
be
it's-
mad.
some people actually don't even think, like,
Yeah.
for them, it's, I've got to get stuff done, and they don't even think that the entire neighborhood is being disturbed. Like, they don't even go there. It's
Monica,
shocking.
did you have something to add?
I'm confused because, so if I'm reading this, and I think it does need to be edited a little bit, but you're saying you're gonna, these are the times that people are allowed to do construction activities and make noise, right?
Just homeowners, just like
Yes.
regular homeowners.
Yep.
Not, this is outside of the
Yep.
construct of a regular, like
Okay,
building a house.
so this is times that like Mo can
I can come home
do
and
construction
do my-
activities.
Yeah, driveway or
And
whatever.
you do not become in violation until you have gone outside of those times 3 days in a row.
As far as I read.
Is that what,
Yeah.
is that what you were trying to say? So what you just said, when your neighbor is out there jackhammering at 1 o'clock in the morning, you can't do anything because I don't think it's in violation because she has to do it 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
Is that what it
No,
says?
actually, I had a neighbor.
Oh, I don't want you to
for
do, I don't want you
days on-
to.
But
do
see,
that.
here's the good news. The HOAs will have a provision for this.
But what do the, I don't want you to have to ever do that once.
Yeah.
Isn't there a noise ordinance too?
So HOAs have a provision for this, and that's what got me, when I had this issue, and it affected me, I just jumped on the HOA and I forced a violation letter.
Right.
I'm complaining, this has happened, date and time, you know, I'm one of
But
those
see, the-
psychos that
The thing
references.
is, the way this
So-
reads is you have to have 3 violations to get.
3 days in a row.
Well, and again, I think we're all open to discussion, but I think it needs to be addressed because I mean, people do things
Right,
at weird
but
hours here. And it's-
Don't you think that, you need to start with just the main paragraph that ends with legal holidays, right? And then any activities that occur for 3 consecutive days, that to me is.
I don't think it's worded properly.
Okay, then I might be able to fix it.
Okay, yeah.
Hopefully.
Because I don't think it's worded properly.
Dictionary.
Yeah.
So we all have this concept that my property's my castle, right?
Right.
I can do on it anything I want to
Right.
do, okay? Anything I want to do, that is my right. But I have a duty to make sure that whatever I'm doing does not cross this little imaginary boundary line of my castle and go into my neighbor's property. So that's what you're trying to prohibit here, is this violation of the duty. But that's why we have nuisance ordinances.
Well, and I was going to say, the right to quiet enjoyment is what
Yeah.
I tend to reference when I'm
Right.
pressing an issue.
But why don't we just, because here's my problem. Yes, these are the construction times, but then, you know, violations can be considered a nuisance and prosecuted as a nuisance. Okay, because it could be one time, it could be 3 times.
Right.
It could be 4 times, whatever, but it saves this trying to figure out where it's at, just, it's a nuisance, and
Yeah.
we'll prosecute you as a nuisance.
So how do we redo this?
Well, first of all, see, it's gotta coordinate, this is the,
With the noise ordinance, is that what you're going to refer to?
in
Yeah.
pari
That-
mutuo,
yeah.
materia.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
that's the.
He's
Latin.
bringing out all the Latin today.
So,
Bring it. Bring it.
I have to justify what you pay me, with fancy words. So your rules have to be read in conjunction with other rules in the same things, like things like things. So if you go back to page 41, we're all talking about state building or site inspections, and then we get to construction activities, and I heard, well, no, this is just Bob and Sue working on their place. Well, there's nothing really stating that this is Bob and
That's
Sue.
another problem I have with this as well. Like,
Working
it
on
doesn't
there.
say just the regular homeowner or whatever. This is outside of having a building permit. I think you need to clarify that. You need to say these are activities outside of your everyday, like, building permit. This is the homeowner pounding some nails at their house, however you guys word that. And so that's kind of like the header. I don't know if construction activities by,
Do-it-yourself
yeah,
construction.
DIY.
Is there another section that's like that, that pertains more to homeowners and private construction activities? Okay. No, I was just wondering, because we have so many sections, I didn't know if we could tag it on to that.
I like the concept, but
Yeah.
we've just got to tighten this up, because this is, I hate my neighbor, and, oh, I found something I
Well,
can't
and
cause
see,
problems.
this is where it comes up, is the first, someone is pounding a nail at 7:01, and then they
Yeah.
call the code
And
enforcement
we've
officer.
all worked in those areas.
And so then, yes, it just keeps coming and so obviously, we want everyone to have the right, what did you call it, the?
Right to quiet enjoyment.
Night, I think, yeah, I think
I mean, that's
everyone agrees.
actually a legal issue across the country.
Yeah.
Right. So, I guess I would recommend changing the title of it to add something and just look at, I mean, the timing seems reasonable to me.
Title it that? The right to.
Quiet enjoyment.
Yeah, you can title it that, but who are we directing it to?
But this
Are you-
also applies to, I mean.
General contract.
Yeah, because let's, extended stay, if they're running late and they start pounding at 3 AM,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that should be illegal.
That's fine.
And I can tell you, any other city I've ever lived in, it is.
It's quiet hours.
I mean, it's illegal. They will shut you down, police will show up and shut you down, and it gets ugly.
Well, maybe we use it in that term, the right for quiet.
Turn on your mic, please.
We write it as the right for quiet, and then we say, if you're if you're making noise, loud noise from
Loud and excessive, I think is.
from a certain.
Okay. The only problem I have is
What?
it's excessive.
Yeah.
Define
Anytime
excessive.
you start putting adjectives or adverbs
Okay,
into
okay.
laws,
Trying
not to.
makes, yeah.
So, the right to quiet enjoyment,
Right. So I would just say, citizens of the town of Alpine, property owners, have a right to quiet enjoyment. Therefore, construction activities and all related sounds emitting from a construction activity shall be conducted within the time frame of 7 AM to 7 PM during weekdays and 8 AM to 6 PM during holidays on the from the months of May through November, okay? And then
During the months of
during-
December through
during-
April.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, So-
That sounds right.
I like that, I like the
Yeah.
way that's started. And then,
We can go back
So-
on
Look
it.
at Christine.
We
We'll
can,
reword
you
it,
know what,
slip
there's,
it in
this is
later.
being taped, so that's how you figure
yeah,
it
we
out.
can go back and.
So then I guess I get down to I would just put any violation it may be considered a nuisance and prosecuted.
As
What?
a,
Yes.
under nuisance law.
Just
Okay.
a more, broad catch-all.
Okay.
And then I think just get rid of the any activities that occur for 3 consecutive days.
We're gonna talk about the noise ordinance.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is now
Yep.
consistent.
Right.
Miss Christine, so Miss Christine's the one who's got to.
Transcribe this.
Yeah.
Okay. You
She'll
gotta
call me.
unpack it
What
all.
did you say? You
Yeah.
were mumbling.
Right.
Yeah.
And definitely make sure you use Sarah's help if you need it to get all these. Okay. And we also said just get rid of any activities that occur for 3 consecutive days, right? You're gonna have the catch-all term that you're adding to it as well,
Right.
right? Okay. All right, next page, Dan. Lots of wills. You added.
Page 48.
On page 48, you added Grice Edition and Three Rivers Meadows. Just because those are new subdivisions, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Page 49,
I think what's important, there are also minimum size requirements for a lot.
right. Okay, page 49, number 5, setbacks are required specifically for safety, legal, and aesthetic reasons. The only items allowed in the established setback area is landscaping and snow storage. You guys have this change a bunch, this exact wording a bunch, so, just for the record, just tell us the reason why you're suggesting this change.
So from what I understand, oh, sorry, don't yell at me. So from what I understand, the concern was, when we talked about this, was that folks are building, putting their driveway, including their driveway as a part of their, right onto their property line. And that was brought up as a many of a concern to include that
Okay, so
As
this
a part
goes
of
back to the
building envelope.
building envelope and, okay.
The only place in this land use development code that gives you a proper definition of where your setback is if your neighbor has a fence, your driveway has to be 5 feet away. So we're putting this in to specify this is what the setback requirement is in the
Yes.
town of Alpine.
Okay.
Because many of us do not have fences to work
Exactly,
off
and
of.
that's, I'm sorry on your property, but you know.
We have
it's not-
2 driveways.
It's non
Yeah, we can, yeah, we
And
have
it's-
one
but
big driveway.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
But we're trying not to create that, you know, if,
You don't have to tell me the disadvantages of having 2 driveways, yeah, because Lake Green becomes double the size because,
and unfortunately, I mean.
back to Lake Green, I had to get it in there.
If we don't, Mr. Mayor, if we don't put it in there and we allow people to do stuff, we're creating non-conforming
Yeah.
right from the
Yeah,
get-go.
I'm fine with it, so, yeah.
Thank you.
This may be stupid,
Yep.
Monica, because I don't know nothing about
Oh,
this, but
sorry.
if I have a setback in the front of my house and my driveway to my garage is in the setback. is that-
Not on the
am I
front of the
thinking
house,
about
we're talking
something
more of
different?
the side of
You're
the house.
talking about specific side setbacks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm like-
it's not the front.
It's size in front. You have the ability to drive through. You have an easement to your own piece of property, so you can drive through
Okay.
your setback. It's just, we're abusing it.
Okay.
Okay, on the bottom of that same
Recreation
page,
vehicles.
there's a lot of this same one, recreation vehicles and/or travel trailers used during construction or maintenance activities. These vehicles are to be parked on private property that the activity is taking place on and will be removed within 7 working days after receiving a certificate of occupancy. Completion is issued for the project and/or when the maintenance has been completed. I think you're missing a word or something, but I understand the gist of what you're.
After receiving the certificate of
Well, you can get a certificate of occupancy, or you can get a certificate of completion.
Okay.
So do you want to put
Just-
certificate of occupancy or certificate of completion?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah, just,
clean it up.
yeah, just get rid of the slash or whatever and just add certificate.
I think
Yeah.
it's good to put a time frame on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you could, that stuff could
Yes.
leave it.
Yeah.
That's on their private property.
And
That's
tying it
different.
to our certificate being issued.
So if it's on their private, so it's their own camper, they were using it during construction, and then they get their certificate of occupancy, and now it's just in their
Yeah,
driveway.
it's in their driveway. So this is mostly like your
Job
construction
trailers?
guy who shows
Job
up.
trailer.
Job trailer, yeah, shows
Yeah.
up and just leaves it on the site forever. And he
Okay,
doesn't-
so,
not
but it
reside
doesn't say job trailers. It says recreation vehicles and/or travel trailers.
Because you can turn the job trailers into.
Sorry, I was writing a moratorium.
That's okay.
Sorry.
I don't,
So what
That's
you
okay, Jim.
Want
Thank you
something
very
more all-encompassing is what I'm hearing.
All right.
I just, people, RVs and travel trailers around here, people are very,
Yes, we are.
stay off my lawn.
we are.
Don't mess with my RV or travel trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I understand there's even a case happening right now where people like have a job, well, it's their camper and their job trailer is
Mm-hmm.
on their property. And when they complete it, it might move over about 4 feet. and
Right.
be the- So,
Okay,
Well-
well, so we're talking about G3, right?
yes, G3,
Yes.
vehicle parking and
Right.
storage.
So I guess first of all, we kind of have this strange jump. It says recreational vehicles, travel trailers used during construction or maintenance, semicolon, these vehicles are to be parked. We just need to clean that up, first of all. On the private property upon which the construction activity is taking place.
But that's a good point. If you're doing construction and that's the spot that you set aside to park your trailer anyway, you finish your construction, it may or may not move, but it's still on your private property. How do we?
How do you distinguish between
Well, are we talking
job
about-
trailer or?
I guess.
Are we talking about a person's job trailer that's working for them, a contractor, or are we talking about
The owners.
The owners.
Yeah.
That, I guess that's the question. What do you?
Well, it's
Right.
a vehicle used during construction or
Okay.
maintenance.
But then it's yours, so.
But if you
keep it
stay in your
afterwards.
RV during your kitchen renovation, how do we make that distinction?
What we were, there was,
What's the mall on?
Yes.
some discussion of, you can't start renting it out to your foreman for a place to live.
Okay.
Well, I think you need to say that then, because
I mean,
that's
it's
actually
like-
happening with workers
Yeah, I
are
mean,
staying
it's happening
on.
all over.
Right.
I know.
So if that's what the intention is, then I think we have a different
Then
situation.
it might not be parking and storage, it might be under a different section.
I mean, all I can speak to is like Alpine Meadows, you're allowed your camper or your boat. You're not, you're not allowed one or, you can't have both. You can have your boat or you can have your.
You mean Riverview Meadows or Alpine?
Alpine.
Meadows? So you
Alpine
can
Meadows.
have one boat or one camper?
You can't have both.
Can't have both.
Okay.
That's why we have really big garages.
Right, and so that's kind of covered under your HOA for sure. I think this one needs a little more thought. If it's job trailers, that's
Maybe we can
very
add job
easy
trailers
to
to it.
change that.
Okay.
But if it's RVs,
What if we
travel
put
trailers.
something like, that does not belong to the homeowner? I don't know how.
Well, how would you ever figure
Yeah,
that
that's-
out? I mean,
Yeah.
I hear
Well, it
the
has to be licensed.
ambiguity
in
and
the
all of
town.
this.
If it's the contractors, then that's an easy one.
Yeah, well, yeah, because the
That-
contractor's gonna keep it right there until he's done with the
He's done
job,
with
and
the
then
job,
he's gonna,
yeah.
and I think one thing we were thinking about are those job trailers, right? That's what we were really thinking about, on this as far as keeping those on the job site. Or
So
not.
if that's what you want to do, you just say, okay, take out recreational vehicles and just put
Job trailers.
storage or job trailers
Okay.
shall be parked on the property where the activity is being placed and then removed within 7 working days after receiving.
But what about if somebody's using their camper as a job?
So I think
I
you
think
have,
that's why we
I
had
think
the
you have
RV in there as
another,
well.
another paragraph. So have one for job trailers, and then have another paragraph, but say exactly what your concerns are about the,
Yeah.
is
Which
it
is
that where people,
occupancy,
yeah,
right?
occupancy, people are, they're having their workers live on the job site, if that's the concern,
Don't we already have something that addresses living in campers for more than 30 days? So that, it kind of falls under that.
yeah, probably.
Do we have that going on? Like workers?
Oh,
live-
yes.
No,
Oh,
no.
well.
We don't have it in this, though.
Right.
Right,
It's
but
not-
it's addressed by the town.
Correct.
So you
Yeah,
don't
it
need
is.
it in both places?
I think you do.
You could say reference ordinance number.
Yeah.
Right.
You could put another paragraph in there if that's what you guys want to do, but I think just clarify exactly the reason for that. If you want to say, you can't have your workers live in a trailer on your property, then say that, if it's some other reason, but
That one you can think,
Okay,
you can think
so
about
so
that.
let's, can I ask a question?
Or
What,
What if
residential.
you- what if
HOAs
you're
will
building
prohibit
your
that
own
anyway.
house And you got
Hold
your
on.
buddy helping you, and he's staying in your camper.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
But
but
you can only stay there for
let's go
30
back to
days.
the
Sorry.
having a worker live in a camp trailer while they're working on your place. Help me understand what's the bad thing that we're trying to prohibit here?
well, for example, living in a single-family residence directly next door.
Uh-huh.
Got workers that are working all day long, pounding nails, 7 o'clock hits, boom, I'm out in the trailer out back, throwing back some beers, sitting by the fire, blah, blah, blah. I don't necessarily live here, what do I care? I think that's a concern,
So we're prohibiting riffraff.
right? But that would be covered under the HOA, I would assume, if we had an
But it's
HOA.
it's after it's been
It's
finished.
after, it's
Okay, well,
after
if
the
that's the case,
CFO.
if after it's been finished, you just say, you clear off all, temporary residences and work trailers
Okay,
not owned by the owner within 7 days,
Well,
and
that's-
occupants
That's good.
must be out. I guess you can find a way to pretty that one up, but,
All right.
if that's
Do you
what
want-
we're trying to get to.
Right.
Yeah.
If that's what it is, then great. We'll let you guys handle,
We'll fix
add
that.
another paragraph and, or if that's what you want to do, add another paragraph. Okay. Trying to keep moving here. Okay, landscaping requirements, you guys have this one a lot as well. That's just on the next page. Landscaping requirement, a minimum of 10% of each residential site will be landscaped and maintained with grasses, shrubs, and or trees to increase compatibility with adjoining land uses, increase the attractiveness of the site, and enhance the general aesthetics of the community. This requirement may be made within setback areas and or designated easements. And again, you guys have this throughout in each different section. I think I understand the general feeling behind this, yeah. Is there any thoughts on 10%? Is that like a minimum? That's like a pretty small amount?
it's very
Yeah.
small, right? It's
It's
not a lot to
really
ask.
small. I mean, it's grass, shrubbery, and trees. I mean,
Right.
10% was like,
Yeah.
we just got
Forcing
some.
someone to do
What's-
full-blown landscape.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
so you
just
get-
getting some.
You can't.
Because you just don't want somebody building out completely in their building envelope, right?
Right.
You just want to have, you've got this square land and then have them all the way up to their property lines as they possibly can and no greenery. I mean, we don't, that's not quite what we
Or-
want within our town is what we were
And that's
thinking.
the whole part about making it not parking either. We're trying to get them to landscape, and the only thing,
Get rid of the impervious.
we're trying to get that impervious surface area
Okay.
dictated.
Does anyone have any comments on that in general? Because it is throughout this new document.
I think 10%'s not a large ask.
But we were worried about the money. I mean, it's like 10%.
It is an
's a lot.
expense,
I mean,
yes.
if you've just built a $300,000 house or 400 or 500, you know, if you're gonna kick in another, 25, 30 grand,
Yeah.
it, but some people can't afford that. I keep hearing that.
That's why-
So-
Well, I think with shrubs, I mean, I can't afford to landscape my land. My lot's huge. I can't afford to landscape that.
Yeah,
just-
what if you do have?
So
a
I do a
enormous
lot
piece
of river
land?
rock,
just
and then I do a little bit of shrubs, that I can get from Ace Hardware.
I
So
just
I
did it, so I
appreciate
know.
you're not trying to
It's
make
not
it cost
cheap.
prohibitive,
It's not cheap.
but you're trying to
Not cheap.
create a little bit of aesthetic.
But it's, it forces the landowner to say, we have to do landscaping, you have to plant some trees, you have to bring in some greenery. If we don't do that, then it just becomes buildings and
Dirt.
dirt.
I could tell you that in Star Valley Ranch, I have a friend who has a home on the market. It used to be a beautiful neighborhood. It became a non-beautiful neighborhood because everyone stopped landscaping, and all the property values have been,
And this is specific
They're not
to
getting-
new builds,
Okay.
yeah.
not existing.
So this is
It does make a
transparent. You
difference.
understand what
It
you are
does
getting
make a
into.
difference.
Yeah.
It affects your property value.
Yes.
If this is in there, exactly, people, when
And
they're
I-
building, they'll know,
think that's
like, I better set aside money to do my
I
land.
think it helps Christine too, because there, as the checklist goes, you got a landscaping requirement. It's there. They know about it even before they.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
that's good. Any more questions on that one? Okay. What's next, Dan?
54.
54, it's the same one.
54, okay. Setbacks are required specifically for safety, legal, and aesthetic reasons. This is the same one. Okay, what's next, Dan?
55.
The same one we're redoing.
55.
Okay,
The
recreation
CBO,
vehicles,
yeah.
yeah, you guys will just do that throughout
Yeah.
in each one of the different
Yeah.
sections, right?
Yep,
Yep.
Okay.
56.
Landscaping requirement,
Same.
yep,
same.
57.
Now we're on permitted uses.
okay. The next one is on page 57, right? Okay. So, number 8 says visitor accommodations such as motels, lodges, and you added bed and breakfast facilities and RV campgrounds and parks. So this is permitted uses, structures are limited to stick-built, okay. So, what do we have other than stick-built, manufactured, or modular units? What other type of construction is there?
Concrete,
So,
steel. Yeah.
A-
I mean, you
a
can build a.
concrete building?
Yeah. Remember, when you go down, High School Road, you know, all those.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
They're all, it's just concrete, just stand up.
yeah, it is.
Yeah, with the community school and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but this has already been in here, you guys only added that bed and breakfast facilities are, okay, so, yeah. Keeping on, okay. Next page, you guys added 10,000 square foot in Lazy Beast subdivision, lot 12, and 20,000 square feet in Elk Meadows addition. Those are just minimum lot sizes, right?
Yep.
In the new subdivisions, that's just kind of like a little housekeeping.
Yep.
Setbacks on
Same.
the next page,
Same.
59, 50, same on
Same.
60, you guys will look
Yeah,
at that.
all the way down.
Yeah, okay, now, talking about table 3.1 on page 61. I've talked to Christine about this a little bit, and I want to understand the purpose of changing it from 400 to 600 square feet.
Actually, it was in, there were two places where it was 400 and 600, and we went to 6, we just made it, we cleaned it up.
Uniform.
We just made it uniform.
Okay.
But what's the overall purpose of this 600 feet?
Christine, you're gonna have to help me there, because
Okay, so if, first off, we're just trying to make this table consistent.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so on page 59, where it has vehicular parking and storage, a minimum of 600 square feet of off-street parking, it's going to be provided for each dwelling unit. So that got changed at the last go-around. Unfortunately, what happened was the table didn't get changed. The table still identified 400. And so that's, we're making this section consistent with the table.
Yeah.
Where was it on the previous?
It was brought to my attention that it wasn't
Yeah.
consistent, and I felt that we were gonna have a problem in the MRC district.
Yeah, I've
So-
got that, I just, the page above, I think.
Page 59.
Yeah,
Page
I see it at the
59.
bottom there.
Yeah.
Okay, minimum of 600 square feet.
Yeah, one,
And the table just wasn't
the
updated.
table wasn't updated.
Okay, so you just made it all uniform.
and we actually got called on it
Yeah, we did.
by an architect.
Okay,
So we
they
went,
pointed it out.
he pointed it right out, and we
Yeah.
said, we'll change that.
Okay, so Are you guys happy with 600 square feet since we're doing
Yeah,
this?
yeah, actually, that works actually better.
Okay, it just sets aside more parking.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. Then, let's see, we're back to the table, so you guys have just cleaned that up, made it more,
But those things are not, it's not what we were talking about earlier, Christine, am I wrong?
that is different than what, because I was
Right.
confused about that too. You were saying how you were moving it from 400 feet to 600 feet to,
Because this is per square feet of retail space, so this is
Right.
actually making less parking required.
that's exactly right, and I wanted to bring that up. If you're moving it from 400 to 600, so for every 600 square, or for every 600 square feet of floor space, you need to have a parking space.
Correct.
It used to be 400, and you've made it 600.
But on the previous version of when it was changed, the minimum was 600. I mean, it was 400, excuse me.
Okay, so, but just so we're clear, by going from 400 to 600, you've made it less parking. So maybe you need to change it all to 400 instead of 600, is my point. If the root of this is we want more parking, then you need to change it to 400 or 300 or whatever instead of making
We're
it 600.
actually wanting to do the opposite,
You want to make less parking
make less parking.
required.
Less parking. I thought
Yeah.
we wanted more parking.
Yeah, I think you want more parking.
Well, so now if you have less parking, you have bigger structure.
Okay. Okay.
So
Well-
you're,
But by raising it to 600, that's what you're doing.
Yes,
So you're making more structure, less parking.
correct. Makes it more restrictive.
Makes it more dense.
no, yeah, you're adding size to the building.
Hold on,
Correct.
explain
But
that to
We're
us.
making, because we're trying to make it as restrictive as possible, because sooner or later, that snow storage piece is gonna be our best friend. Because they don't got any place to put the snow.
Right, but why wouldn't we just say, okay, add more parking spaces, then you have a place to put that?
No, then you have less spaces to put snow, because people are parking their cars there.
Well, no, the restriction is the percentage of the lot size has to be whatever, right? But
yeah.
we're just talking about,
But it's based on office, and it's also based on how many bedrooms, and it's based on,
so we're talking about multifamily more than anything, right? Is
or
that what you're-
MRC. I mean, we were thinking, actually, when this came to discuss, it was really about the piece of land right on the other side of Alpine Meadows. I can't remember what it was, but that's where it started.
Okay, so let's talk about Alpine Flats right now.
Okay.
So they're in the process of building 10 buildings with 16 units in each. They've got master plan for the whole thing. They've only been building permit for two buildings?
Five.
Four right now. And here we are, we're gonna change this. Now, they've planned the whole thing. They could take out parking based on this for the other 6 buildings, if that's, I mean, maybe, I don't know if they'd have to redo the master plan or something, I don't know what the process is.
I think that they're committed because they've already submitted their plan, they're done.
Yeah,
Okay,
so they don't have to change theirs.
So our whole piece was, what are we gonna do with density?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is more or less?
but you're adding density by making the buildings bigger, because you can fit more people in the
Do
building.
you want more people here? How many, I mean, I'm just trying to, and that's the discussion that we've been having, it's like, where do you put the density without the master plan telling us we're gonna do more
Okay,
density?
just for the record, we're doing a master, we have a master plan and we're doing a master plan.
Correct, but we're here now,
Yeah.
and we started thinking about this, we thought about density a long time ago, and we're like, maybe we should make it less.
Wait, I have a question. So can you kind of draw, and if you have to use the chalkboard, that's fine. But can you give me an example of
Okay.
how you're saying less parking spaces means a smaller structure? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's a greater structure.
Okay.
So in here.
That's what I thought you were saying, but I thought at the beginning you said.
You have more
Right.
area for you have more area for commercial.
Okay.
If you do MR, you have residents, and it's all mixed, right?
Mhm.
It's mixed. Are you gonna have more parking for the upstairs than you have downstairs?
Who's downstairs?
The commercials downstairs and.
Oh, I see what you're saying, because on one zone for commercial, we have one per X amount of square feet. But for MRC, we have one per Y square feet.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right, so
What do you want
again,
more of?
you're,
Commercial space?
I don't
or-
know.
Okay.
That's
No,
not-
that's,
and it
that's
really-
a good question.
Listen, if you
That's a
want to
good
go to
question.
400, we could go to 400. I really don't care. I'm just thinking about it, I was thinking about it in density. So.
Uh-huh, right.
And when we got called on it, they said, well, which one do you want? You want 400 or you want 600? And I was like, well, I could see 6.
Will there
It's
be
for
enough
bigger
parking?
vehicles, too.
Will there be enough parking?
That's my biggest thing is like, every parking lot you go to these days doesn't seem like there's enough parking. So if you're reducing the number of parking spaces required, I think we might.
But
need to
we're
reconsider.
also increasing green space. So we have to, we're taking it all in stride. I'm trying to figure out, if you want a lot of parking, you get less green.
Okay. Right, because there's only so much.
We got only so much.
Right.
So my mind went somewhere else, Eric, and I'm willing, I don't care, really. I think green and less is better with more density, because that's gonna get you more tax dollars. But that's the way I thought about it. You can think about, you just tell us what you like.
Yeah. and
I'm open.
I think I
What you
almost
got,
need more information.
So would you consider, okay, so if I am looking at a medical or veterinarian clinic, for example,
Yeah.
would you consider 2 per 600 square feet?
Yeah, I mean, something like that might be
Should
the way to
that
solve
be
it,
the-
yeah.
Should that be the number that? I
Do
mean,
can
I
we
feel the
find-
600 square feet needs to be consistent with the other section
Yeah.
that we've established the minimum.
Okay, this is what I'd suggest, and then we can move on. Before the October meeting, you guys just
Go
do it.
count space.
No, see what the precedent is, like, see what Jackson says, see what Star Valley says, or Afton. Pick another similar sized town, Panguitch, Utah, whatever. And
Well, see, Jackson takes it on the square footage of land now, so you got floor area ratio, and they do it totally
yeah,
different.
all right, so don't talk to
Yeah.
Jackson. Talk to everyone else that's similar size or
So
whatever.
what does, I guess, let's look at Victor or Driggs.
Yeah.
What they do.
We're not doing on-street back-in parking.
Oh, God.
No, okay.
But
we might
But-
need to.
But, yeah, that's,
this is for an office building or something, yeah, okay.
No, but that's a good question, because you do want to balance the green space. It's all one piece of the puzzle. But you also don't want a building and then all of it, it's like this
Parking.
endless
Yeah, it's
parking
like a
spot. Right,
Costco.
so
Yeah.
that's a hard
I
judgment
think that's what's
to make.
contributed to your global warming. is all the- No, seriously, asphalt.
Yeah, asphalt for sure, and concrete, yeah, and pervious surface.
Of it all.
But, so, I guess, can you guys just do, and maybe 2 per 600 or 2 per 500, whatever it is, if you can find some other
Well,
precedent?
in other states, it's usually 2 per 1,000, 3 per 1,000. I mean, they go based on the square footage of the building.
Okay,
that's
but
just
can you
normal.
find the numbers and present it to us?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we.
Not in a big city, in rural,
Just,
yeah.
yeah.
Other,
Well-
you could even put it out to the,
I mean, Jorgensen
Wham or
might know. I mean, they're, well.
yeah. Christine can maybe e-blast it to Wham, and then we could get similar
That's a good
towns
idea. That
to.
takes that weight off of the work. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
I think
there you go. Thank you,
Let's
Monica.
let municipalities come back.
I was trying to
with
get
their
there too,
own
but I forgot
research.
what they called it.
No, that's
All
a
right,
good
let's not
idea.
spend any more time on that. You guys are gonna come up with a definite suggestion, and maybe, based on Christine said, maybe 2 per 600, blah, 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 things like that.
But thank you for considering the
This-
whole piece of the puzzle. That's-
It also goes into
It's a
the
large
10,
view.
the 10% is going to be in there
I
as
mean,
well.
we could go 500.
No, just come up with whatever the number is that somebody else suggests. I don't want to just pick a number out of the.
Pick
out
it
of a
right
hat.
out.
Yeah,
Pick a number, any number.
yeah, exactly. We could have one, they'll spin the thing and throw a dart at it.
Remember that?
Okay, so landscaping requirements were added
10%.
on the bottom of 61,
Yeah.
which we've already discussed. Dan, what's the?
64 is setbacks again.
64
That's great.
setbacks.
Okay, keep going.
65 is table, that's again the parking.
The
Yeah,
same.
so this one is for minimum off-street parking requirements, commercial facilities. Okay. So yes, back to the
Okay.
same thing. Other private education facilities accessible for the general.
Landscaping requirements is 66.
Wait, one parking space for every 2 persons employed. The total parking spaces for facility users will equal 50% of the peak user capacity. So who determines peak user capacity? The architect?
It's usually.
We have
that's
peak
part of-
hours for utilities. Do they use the same type?
I mean, it's capacity, a lot of it is designed, how many bathrooms, how many people are gonna be using it, and so they base it on capacity. And so parking is usually, it's an ordinance that says you have to have X amount of parking for X amount of employees and X amount of guests who are coming in, plus handicap. So if you're gonna have off-street parking, that's the architect's job to label all that.
Okay.
Okay.
And basically now we also have to, we don't have off-street parking or on-street parking here anywhere unless it's off the main roads.
I guess I would just suggest, say, the peak user capacity determined by not the town, like whoever it is, by
Architect or engineer.
somebody other than the town is gonna give them that number. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Back to recreation.
66.
Luis is
we're good
moving up.
through
He's
there.
gonna come really.
Louise, are we losing you?
We're at
Pat's gonna stay to the end. though.
69. 69 is more
Thanks,
setback.
Louise.
70, okay.
Monica, did you talk to Luis?
Yes, I told him I'd be in touch.
Okay.
Yeah.
70 is more landscaping. And 73, 206F, yeah, that's what it was. 70, renumbering,
Back to the
73,
Landscape.
we're moving more landscaping. A lot of it was just housekeeping, trying to keep it together.
Here's on 75, you have 600, I think that's just a clarification, whatever you guys determine is the, kind of the number you want to go with, and we'll use it throughout.
81,
Oh, this is interesting. The pages, it goes from
red.
78, 79.
I think she
There
was,
was a glitch.
There was
She had
80.
She had a
It's-
glitch, and that's why we had to refund.
79.
and I don't think any of the red showed up.
Yeah, okay.
Like rescan some of them.
It did, yeah, she
It was-
said the copier was
Oh
glitching.
my gosh, that thing
Yeah.
took like a half
When
an
you're,
hour to
when
get
you,
it
when you're
done.
trying to scan that many pages, it
Yeah.
kind of freaks out. So anyways, moving on down.
Mine's
82, 4.1.
Copier's given us nothing but trouble.
It's the table, minimum planning design standards of roads and streets continued.
What's a change on that?
What was the change?
It was an adjustment on, Christine's page has got the mark. On page 82.
Uh-huh. Table 4-1.
Oh, well, if you look at it, it's all mucked up. So this just needs to be shifted down to the next page. You have table continued,
Oh,
but
Oh,
it needs
okay.
to be on the top of the next page.
okay.
Okay.
Just, you guys will clean that up.
Number 8, hang on, I've got a note here for a table.
Okay,
Okay.
that's okay.
Should be determined. Oh, did we make that note? on
Yeah,
this?
that's, so she's saying she'll take the.
No, I understand.
Oh.
But
She's
number
seeing if
4
there's
was
another
my
note.
section that I had to study.
Oh, okay.
That I just wanted to.
Was
Okay.
there something on there that you?
Yeah.
Table 4.3 on 85.
I'm there with you.
Well, we added if applicable on 84.
Oh, yeah.
Are you on to 84 yet? Okay. If
We went to
applicable.
the 221 edition on the bottom of the table on page
Okay.
85,
Okay.
because we've adopted the 221 fire code.
Okay, hold this real quick. I wanted,
talking about the 2024 fire code?
Yes, we were talking about adapting it to the current one, whichever one, it hadn't been adapted yet. when we were working
Which is the
on this.
221.
So do we want to make it 2024?
No, because it hasn't been adopted.
Okay. So,
I-
so the state has adopted 2021.
I think, so we don't have to keep changing it, we should say the most.
the most
Most
current.
yes. That's what
version.
we talked about, yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
That's a
just
great
definitely
idea.
change it.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what I have updated on my notes.
Okay, back real quick to
page are you
84
on?
on if applicable.
Yeah.
That's just, pay impact fees if applicable. I can't talk.
Applicable.
Applicable, there you go. That's a good word. I think that's a good addition, so,
Thank you.
good job.
And we should talk about how you want that to look and what you want impact fees to look like.
Yeah, and
Well,
this,
there'll be a whole ordinance for impact fees, and we are going to be paying a consultant to help us determine that. That was at the last town council meeting, and so that will take upwards of, what was it, 6 months, Mom?
7
For
months,
the impact fee?
Yeah.
3 to 4 months research, and then
And
3
then
months of readings.
4 months of readings, basically.
Yeah,
Take
yeah.
1 month to get it together, yeah.
Page
So-
125.
So, hang on though, I did have a note here for, the impact fees for that 4-305 to maybe add that into that number 10. or-
Say it again, I'm sorry.
Sorry, where are you?
What
Page
page?
84.
Okay.
Okay.
Number 10, that's where it looked like as we should maybe think about adding a part of the pay impact fees, just for future reference,
Yes.
not right now.
Okay.
But that was just something that we looked at for that aspect. Okay, as we were.
Where's number 10?
Yeah, I don't see a 10.
Oh, I'm sorry. Number 10 is my notes.
Oh,
I
oh,
apologize. I am so
Ooh,
sorry.
that's
My
okay.
notes. I am so sorry. I apologize.
That's
know why
okay,
you keep
Mo,
your eye on.
no, that's great.
All right, moving down the list.
Christine on 125, page 125.
Okay, hold on,
Ooh,
there's nothing,
125.
we get skipped to 125?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think there's any.
we're moving right along.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All
Oh,
the
I
things
remember
they
this.
don't want
Yeah.
us to see
This
are
was the-
between
yeah, this-
125.
yeah, They made me do all of this homework and they just skipped right over this. I remember this.
Mo. Sorry, Mo. Thank you, Mo.
That is a little
Nobody cares, work
ridiculous, all that stuff. Okay, 125, what do you change in there?
5103B2.
Woo, okay.
Hold on, I might be on the wrong.
Okay, there's two, there's.
I have
there's-
table 412.
Just so you know, there's 2 pages, 125.
Okay.
So that's
Oh,
gonna
yes.
be.
The
that's
second
gonna-
page one?
That's gonna
Second
be,
page.
that's gonna be adjusted.
Are you,
Notice of
is
the,
there a table 412 on 125?
there's
Yeah.
the second page.
The second
Flip
125.
it, flip to the next one.
That's what you were,
That's what I'm referring to,
Yeah, it's right here.
right here.
am I here? Yes, okay. Sorry, I was looking for another table. Okay.
Yep.
Nope.
I'm on the same page.
Notice of hearing. Under section 5-103.
Including the town council. It originally said town
Town.
attorney.
Yeah,
Town attorney.
So you've
we
added-
tightened it up.
Okay,
Okay.
tighten up.
We also, we had that conversation as far as the main elevation of the fronting street, which was
Where are
something
we
we
now?
were still addressing.
What page
What
is
page
that?
is
That's that same page we're on.
Page is that?
On page 112, the same one you guys were just
We're,
on.
we're not even
We're on
talking,
125.
we sailed
moved
way
on.
past 112.
Fine, whatever.
We're at
move on.
125.
No, Mo, we're going.
Anyway, we cleaned
Yeah.
up town council, town attorney.
Whatever.
Now we're on 126.
No, we better go back.
What time did you get up this morning? Too early.
5 o'clock for me.
Okay, page 126, right of entry.
All right, then we have 126. It was inspection times. What do you think?
Okay.
Oh, holy cow, you are fast.
That
Building,
seems like a natural,
yeah.
you're just saying inspection times.
Why are you giving this to me? I have one.
Somebody handed it to us.
Do I need two?
That seems reasonable.
Yeah.
So moving on, Town of Alpine, next page, Town of Alpine should hold the harmless, the Planning and Zoning Commission members, and then planning, Town, Mr. Sanderson might have a say in
127.
this.
Okay,
127, Jim.
Whoa, he's got it. Whoa.
well, you are held harmless. There's no reason for us to do that.
No shall.
You have
Are.
governmental immunity.
Are.
But everyone else is identified but us, so it's kind of like, why?
Well, what do you mean,
Well, it
it
says-
shouldn't even be in.
Yeah, you don't even need the paragraph, you already have it, but.
You've got governmental immunity unless you do something really stupid.
This is so when
That's
we
the
do something
standard.
really stupid.
Well, no, we can't, then you don't have indemnity.
Yeah, sorry.
Enforcement.
Oh, enforcement.
Yeah, I mean, it's not
I
necessary.
didn't know if they were
Okay.
like, they coincided.
So do you suggest removing that?
Yeah, that section, that two,
Number 2 is not necessary.
yeah,
The whole paragraph?
the whole paragraph.
Really?
Yeah, it's not necessary.
I mean, you could instead say, refer to blah, 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 whatever, but I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it was in there, so.
All right,
it's the,
we'll take it out.
We can-
I know, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it was
Necessary.
Okay, so,
proper.
Okay.
But,
If
you-
you're
it-
held
it's
under
just,
the same
you
standard.
have sovereign immunity and, because you're a sub-governing body.
we
of
can
the
eliminate
town.
it, is what you're saying.
Right,
Alright.
the only time you lose that sovereign immunity is if I direct you to do something and you do something wrong, then we both lose our sovereign immunity.
Well, don't do that.
Yeah, okay.
All right, you might need to look at the next one, which is page 128.
The zoning administrator with approval from Planning and Zoning Commission shall order in writing the remedy of any violations. Order shall
Okay,
be
yeah, that's,
We upped our fee. It was,
If the
what?
recipient fails to pick up the certified mail and delivery fee of
It was 10 or
$50
something ridiculous.
for the civil service fee of the.
We just upped that fee.
Yeah, but I think that we're not responsible for some things anymore, so I don't know if that should even be in there for us.
Okay.
okay, well, this is a question here. So if you're ordering, if you're saying that somebody is violating something and you're going to fine them, then yeah, that's out of your purview. But if somebody comes and, I guess, where are we issuing orders? That's my question. In what
Like
cases
what
would you
orders?
be issuing an order?
Well, I think giving somebody approval and giving them a building permit is like, you have an order to build a house.
Okay.
But you can hand deliver that or whatever, I mean,
Well, I mean, you do your fees, but okay, shall order in writing the remedying of any violation. That's where I'm having a problem.
we're not gonna be telling him what the violation is anyways. The zoning administrator is not going to be,
Correct.
Dealing with
I guess
that.
that was the part where I was saying, why?
So if the
we should
court
just-
picks it up,
Should just take it completely out of it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think you almost have to.
yeah.
Any order has been served, no work shall proceed.
So we just take the whole paragraph out. A is gone. Okay.
B is more for like a stop work order or something like that.
Correct. Well, we tried that, so it didn't do it very well.
Okay, well, but how did you try it? Then let's talk about the situation. Tell
Well-
somebody to stop.
We did, and we sent them a letter,
Okay,
but what we had communicated was not what was written down, so it was changed.
okay.
And that was on us, because we allowed him to do what he we gave him permission, which was stupid.
It was an internal communication error.
Oh,
So, it doesn't really bear any weight on this
Right.
discussion, so.
okay.
If we do everything the right way, then I think
Yeah.
we're covered for that
Correct.
going forward.
Yeah.
Right, and we'll never, ever give somebody another permit unless we have all the information.
Yeah.
We won't.
We
just-
learned our lesson.
We learned our lesson.
We had someone coming in to ask to get a permit to do something, or, yeah, anyways,
All right.
Okay.
just today they came in.
And then everything
Now we're
else,
going to the glossary.
then it's all definitions from our kids.
Okay. So building envelope, I've read that. That seems well-read. Copyright, just adding it in there is fine, whatever. Due diligence, I'm sure that's right out of a Google search. That makes a lot of sense. Ease,
We cross-referenced a lot.
yeah.
And we have to add more here to our,
Yeah, oh, we
I mean,
did
we,
do
we just
development.
found,
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I mean,
You
we-
guys will always be adding some. What's a tree? I mean, you gotta put that on. What's a shrub? Easement, yep. I'm sure that's the definition. Why do we have fireplace, and then you've got different fireplaces, and then we've got hardship, a condition that is difficult to endure and can be proven, i.e. especially financial, economic, fine. Impervious, hard surfaces that does not let water run off. Jurisdiction, governmental unit that adopts and enforces all codes, including but not limited to the IBC, IRC.
I have improvised service, were we not gonna put anything in there? Okay, never mind, I'll be quiet.
No, what
No, I'm making fun of Dan. Miss Christine,
What,
I have
what do you have?
Service on, underneath my
Imper, what?
Improved.
service?
Yeah, it just didn't make it in these, I didn't
We-
wanna complicate.
No, you're totally fine.
I didn't wanna complicate
We-
these
we need
people
it,
with
though. We-
adding
I'll just
need
make
it.
more
notes
in.
my book that it's
Yeah.
for later. I apologize.
I have that.
just wanted
That has to be said in there, though.
Yeah,
So we'll
Christine,
see that.
we have,
later.
Well,
we
why
have
can't,
that
why
over
can't we
here.
add it right now if it's one different?
add what?
Improved service.
Hold on. Hold on. Doesn't everybody have that with their little happy?
Where did I put it?
papers? We did look it up, but I didn't want to add it, I wanted to talk about it. Improved service, we came up with
Surface or service?
surface.
Surface.
Okay.
Improved
Improved
surface means that the surface of a parking space is completely paved with concrete, asphalt, or some other like rigid surface such as pavers or pervious concrete. To be certain, improved does not include gravel or crush and run even when compacted.
Okay, what was the,
This all has to do with hubbub over, in my opinion, it's not necessary.
okay, well, hold on, I'd like to see how you got to that discussion.
It has to do with Alpine Flats.
Okay,
And Dan's expertise as a builder stating that he's never seen crushed gravel as an improved surface.
And it contradicts directly our codes person, Rob Wagner, said that the IBC, IRC, whatever, it's allowed. Crushed gravel is allowed as an improved surface.
only if you can prove that it's 95 pounds compacted. And that it can.
There's a
that
compaction level.
Only thing that can be done that is an engineer. So it's never been, we should never allow it. It's never allowed anywhere on the planet.
You can't make big statements like that, Dan.
Eric,
You'd not,
it's
knows.
not.
He knows.
It's not commercially, it's not done.
you can't say not 100% in the
Okay.
country. I mean, come on.
In every city that I've worked in, it is something that is not allowed. It's
is
just
it
not-
allowed anywhere in the state of Wyoming?
It's not allowed.
Of course it is.
Okay, why isn't it allowed? Let's go.
Because
back
it's,
first.
because it's not safe.
Because it's
Why
not
is it-
rigid?
Which
Because
part is
when
not
it-
safe?
Because once you move into handicap, it becomes unsafe. Because you can't clear the rocks from the ice and the debris. You can't give them a clear walking path.
Okay, so it's an ADA
It's an,
compliance.
it gets into ADA, it gets into a lot of things,
Okay.
but towns themselves won't allow it. It's
And
like
it's mostly
paving.
for paving, or for, or for, commercial zones.
Right.
That's why, that was the big concern. You're
And for
absolutely- no,
I mean, for
thank you.
residents, it's the same way.
If you have-
You gotta make the driveway whatever it is before you get an occupancy permit.
I don't want to mess with ADA.
And I'm just saying,
I'm just saying.
you can change it, you can this is Wyoming, you can do whatever you want. I'm just saying,
Carrie and Troy just paid.
it's just not done.
But,
The van
having
just
having a
What's that?
three-quarter crush on a person's personal driveway that's not what's in question.
Right, this is
mostly
spaces
just
where
for
you would have
seating.
handicapped
Yeah.
spaces, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was one of the reasons. That way somebody wanted to get a temporary C of O or COI or whatever. Sorry, I'm done.
COO.
CO, thank you. They couldn't just say, well, I've just got gravel, we're gonna pave later, without having that specific date, we can't, we're not gonna do that. And that also means that we've gotta have the finalized asphalt.
Right.
So that they can use, so they
And they
can
have a
utilize
tough,
it.
they got a tough spot.
Yeah.
Because they got this big site that they're gonna do buildings, they're gonna be ripping it up all the time. It's like, I get it, but it's just not done.
But you can't make
And
parking
if we don't-
unsafe.
I mean, you can choose to take it out and just say, screw it, gravel's fine. But you open the liability. And I know that you say that we're all indemnified, but I don't wanna see anybody get hurt.
Yeah, and it makes.
It's
once-
just a little extreme in my opinion, just because they've already said, like, we're gonna do it, but we're waiting until the gravel company comes, or the asphalt company comes. So, you know, if
I
you
kinda-
wanna,
I kinda look at it like the other one, where we gave them permission for an excavation permit and they ran with it. It's,
So that's one of the reasons why we were thinking we should probably include something like that in the definition.
just put it
Okay.
in the next one and let's move on. So landscaping,
What do you mean by?
Wait,
what do
so-
you mean
The next reading.
2025?
no, the reading on the
Oh, on the
October
second
reading.
reading.
Like,
Okay,
you
I'm
guys, we
just-
have,
So-
this is.
I'm already moving on.
We are including this
Yes.
for the final.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Yes.
but I keep my pointer right here. You need a comma in between shrubs and grass on landscaping.
correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it was, yeah, that's just.
Okay, master plan, the
Okay,
town's
okay.
comprehensive project, project scope, cost planning, activity, reflects a vision.
Okay.
Okay.
You got your, yes, I did do that.
Pervious,
Where are
a
we now?
surface that allows the penetration of runoff water through the surface, okay, great. Remodel, renovate,
Oh, you're, okay.
Reproduce.
On page
everything-
135.
Okay.
right of way. I've read all these, hopefully everyone else has.
Yes.
Setback, you guys.
Were there any comments on any of these further?
Besides the three of us?
Okay, okay.
Tonight was the biggest meeting we've
I think
had.
the violation one is really important.
Oh,
That's
zero
good.
scape.
Something's not allowed.
Just for future reference, we
Yes.
were talking about maybe doing zero scape as a definition. It's not in this
Christine
one,
had
don't yell
talked
at
about
us.
that in the
It's-
past.
it
No,
should
you
be.
talked about that
Xeriscape
months
is in
ago.
there.
Oh, did we
Xeriscape
put
is
it?
in
I
here.
did.
No, it's been in there.
Oh,
It's been in.
it was?
It's under XERI, it throws you with the stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's, okay.
I apologize. I did not spell zero
So when
scape
does
correctly.
zero escape border on obnoxious weeds?
Only you.
No, I'm serious.
Yeah, drought adaptable and low water plant.
Oh.
Plants, not weeds.
This was,
Not
this,
to be
I don't know
confused
how
You better
long
put
this
noxious
is.
weeds, you know,
Yeah, no,
noxious
that's a
weeds.
good point.
Because I can say, hey, I've zero escaped this
And I like Montana thistle.
and I like, I like Steve.
Okay, that's a great point.
I have
Okay.
no idea.
Okay, so let me ask you another really interesting question.
Where are you? Well,
Obnoxious.
okay.
Why are we spelling xeriscaping with an X-E-R?
That was in
That's
the
the way
LUDC when we got it.
Okay,
so-
Oh my
isn't
gosh, that's really
xeriscaping,
funny.
it's zero, Z-E-R-O, scaping.
That's how I wrote it down.
Serifscaping.
Okay, I'd recommend we change that, because I don't know what xeri.
But I think that's the architectural stamp.
Oh, okay.
It may be, that's what I'm looking at.
You may want to look.
Okay.
I
Okay.
just,
Yes.
Googler
Yes.
says.
I just Googled it myself.
Did you just Google it?
I did.
Yeah.
A style of landscape design requiring little or no irrigation or other maintenance.
Little or
using-
no.
Used in arid regions.
Did you
Yeah.
spell, which way did you spell?
Zero,
E-R-I.
Z.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And it
Sorry,
shows, and I got it.
Oh, right, XERI.
XERI.
Your eyes are going like ours.
Why don't you just put it xeriscaping or?
Commonly
spell-
known as.
Yes,
Xeriscape.
something, yeah.
Okay.
And then we're covered, because people would be like, oh no, I do xeriscaping with a Z.
But that implies no landscaping.
Well, I just want to
Says
say,
little
It's a
to-
type of
little to
landscape.
no
type of
irrigation.
But when I see zero, that gives me an out.
It's not,
Known as xeriscape?
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
Okay.
may I say something?
I mean, aren't we saying that
I
everyone
really-
has to do 10% landscaping?
No, so xeriscaping is a terminology for a type of
Yeah,
landscape.
yeah. But
But
it's
it
not
does-
spelled ZERO.
Zero with a Z is
Oh
a
my
man
gosh.
in Canada. Zeroscape.
That's what I was saying. I think we should stick to the
Okay,
problem.
Yes, Dan, what was your comment?
I think this was really helpful.
We're not done yet.
I
We gotta
know.
keep moving.
I just wanted to say, I think it's really helpful.
Well, thank,
He's like, I'm going
So-
on. If I don't say thank you now, I'm
Thank you
not
for
going to
your
say it
comment.
later.
Okay, so
Okay.
here we are. Councilman Larson's suggestion, is that where we are?
yes.
Okay, we were good with violations.
they got
Did
the
I miss that?
Violations are fine.
Yes.
Okay.
For a definition, yes.
Okay, I know this is one he has
This-
talked about in the past.
Yes, we have gone over this a lot.
Yes.
And this would be a perfect time for him to tell us and show us on.
Why don't we
the
go
whiteboard.
to section
So I
3202?
think it wasn't until I learned his lot.
Okay,
So he's got a road
okay,
and he's got a road.
okay.
And so we're taking 25 feet, we're taking 25 feet here, and we're taking 15 feet, 15 feet.
He's like, what's left?
He doesn't have anything left.
Right, okay.
But what we have to do, we have to specifically, and this is something that Christine and I talked about.
Okay.
We have to specifically tell you, if you have a lot that has three roads on
Mm-hmm.
it, or 2 roads on it, you pick a road that is your address.
Okay,
That's where we go from 25 feet.
okay,
And then we go 15, 20.
That
Okay.
makes sense.
And then, and then if he can build inside the setback, he can do whatever he wants. Now, all of his neighbors built in 1909, so they
Like,
did.
we're
whatever
not
they
worried
wanted.
about it, yeah, okay.
But it's up from what's going on now.
Now, forward.
I think it should be based on your address.
I
the
like
street.
basing it off a street.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hey, can I ask you a dumb question? Honestly, I don't know this. This is new territory for me. Who sets the address?
County, don't they?
Because where I come from, you're
Town
not
of
allowed to
Alpine,
set it.
Town of
It's-
Alpine
it's-
sets the address.
The city or the municipality actually defines the exact address.
Yeah, because they said they didn't have a choice. It,
Yeah, so
Oh,
I
yeah,
just
that
want
was
to
right.
For
understand
them.
the process.
And I think that his house
That's
is
not a
so
dumb
far
question,
set back on his property that
Do you want the brief history?
Yeah.
Please.
Quick.
Quick.
1909, they built a house. They built it, his front door faces Pinecrest Circle.
yes.
That was his given address. Property sold, you know how things get weird. They decided to put a driveway on the Sunset side. Somehow, some way, the address got changed to Sunset Drive. That's
That's
how
crazy.
that materialized. We looked at it, we had a big discussion with the applicant, and they wanted to put a detached accessory structure following the code that has been adopted. This was the solution that we came up with, that you should technically change your address to Pinecrest, and you'll be in compliance with the land use development code.
A special use permit
And
would
I'll,
have
and
gotten
I'll,
rid
and
of
I'll,
all.
I'll leave it at that.
Okay,
I don't know if we need
Okay.
to change the land use development code as much as just that non-compliant property comes in
Correct.
front of town council and talks about an, special use permit and
Okay.
Yeah.
that,
well, we take
I like
a non-conforming lot and we're making it conforming.
We're doing our best to make it.
right.
That's
Okay.
what we're trying to do.
okay.
I appreciate both of you digging into that and seeing what the crux of the problem was. Okay.
All right, now,
next?
Mr. Sanderson,
Yes,
talk
sir.
to me, Goose.
Talk to me.
Special use permits and special review.
So basically, the concept of a special use permit or a conditional use permit is, we can't possibly fathom all the situations where
Yeah.
we're going to need things. And especially where we have a situation, and we'll use Mayor's project as kind of.
He's like, maybe I should.
Not Lake Creek.
I'm not leaving.
You're building onto your house, and there's no way to do the addition without maybe encroaching a little bit into the setbacks. Now, normally you would think, okay, well, do we give a variance on it? But a variance really is a special, you know, even more than a blue moon kind of thing. Because if you look at the elements for a variance, you have to show that the property is unusable unless we give you this variance. Well,
That's why there's statutory requirements, there's.
exactly,
And there's a lot.
findings and all this.
Right.
So a special use permit is as well, all right, his property's still useful, but is it really gonna hurt anything in the grand scale of things to issue this special use permit, or that goes with the house, it goes with the owner, it allows you to tweak whatever's in your land use development code to fit it to this specific issue? Not general issues, but this
And
specific
my
issue.
specific issue was when I designed the house and how my addition would go on, I didn't recognize that the house was cockeyed. And the whatever you call it.
The designer didn't know?
No, well, but anyways, if I would have built the entire project out, I would have been 18 inches over the corner. Which means, once you take that little triangle, because it was shaped like this, it was a grand total of like 7 square feet would have been in the setback.
Right.
So if we would have had something like this, I could have come to town council and say, this is my situation. I just want to build this thing and I'm going to encroach 7 square feet into the setback. Is that okay? Because the alternative is I had to cut off 2 feet of my old house
Right.
to put the building in, and it worked out fine, but it cost me $10,000 to do it. So that's what I would have come to town council and said, I screwed up, but I would rather come and ask you for this special use permit versus what I ended up spending $10,000 to cut 2 feet off the side of my building.
Right.
So that's a great example. I wasn't thinking of that
Right, and
one,
you're
but
not
thanks.
changing the use, you're not changing the zoning.
Yeah.
Dan, what's your thought on that?
I mean, I think it works. It does work, and special use permits are used everywhere. A lot of places call it variance, and they don't make it as hardship, you know. I think it's fine. If you want to do special use or variance.
Well, because Wyoming
Variance is a different
specifically
beast.
has
It's a different beast.
variance is you have to
Yeah,
specifically
yeah.
have these
It's in the
findings.
statute.
Yeah.
And you have to show that you can't use that property for anything else. So
Right.
variances shouldn't ever be issued except for once in a million years. But special use permit, hey, you can condition it for a time,
Or use,
or a use, or whatever it is. I
Sure.
guess the time would be.
I think it's
Okay.
usable. I mean, I unfortunately, shit happens. Somebody who would have built it square, you would have probably seen it.
I'm glad I didn't build it. Where's it say town clerk?
It says all requests for change of zone and permits in districts which involve uses listed as special use shall be referred to the town clerk. Not the
Well,
clown
you-
clerk.
you can
the
take-
town clerk. Sorry, Monica,
You can
it's been
take
a
the
long
town
night.
clerk out and put, because the only reason, I wrote this ordinance when I worked for Afton, and so they had a different setup. So it's in Word format, you can flip that out and put,
Well, it's also, it would be the treasurer, but.
Or
But why
Any-
would there be a
anyone.
request for change of zone? Change of
well,
zone.
here's an example, I guess. Let's say you are, I don't know, I'm just trying to make up a hypothetical here. I don't know.
Okay.
Someone wants to put a bar in their residential garage
Right,
or something.
right, but let's just say that it's in a residential area, but it's bordering your business zone, okay?
Okay.
It's like right on the border, but it's a residential, everybody else down the block is residential, but this guy's on the border.
Okay.
And he may want a change for his area to put in a business, not a bar, like fly fishing shop or something, or donut shop.
Okay.
And rather than going through the whole zone change thing where you maybe have to avoid spot zoning, et cetera, you can say, all right, for this little one, you can be in your connecting zone. I mean, you'd have to be a connection.
Okay.
But it's not.
But the point is, it has to come to town council, and it has to be in a public forum,
Yeah.
and there's not gonna be like,
But then also, I thought, when I just quick glanced over, it has to be, it can't be something wild. It has to be something that's pretty
Yeah,
consistent
makes
to the
sense.
already
Yeah.
allowable uses.
Yeah.
You can't make up a new use.
But it says the town clerk shall evaluate.
No.
all
No, no,
requests.
it says applicants.
Yeah, I would change that.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Okay.
That's what I was saying.
Oh, okay.
This was
That
written
makes
for.
sense. Okay.
That's what I said. I don't
Got
get
it.
all the word town.
we'll,
clerk in there.
we'll
I
clarify,
understand.
clean that up.
Okay.
But, so, this has to be an ordinance and 3 readings?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so you can,
Okay.
clean up, take out what you don't like as far as your name there and,
The clown clerk.
yeah. The clown clerk.
Oh my God.
But maybe the clown
Oh my
attorney.
Yes.
gosh.
You've been called worse, I'm sure. I'm fine with it, and I anticipate seeing it on the agenda in October. Why not?
Thank you for printing.
Why not? Yeah.
We got nothing else going on, so we might as well
Right.
add
Okay.
to it. Is
What's
there
next?
anything else on our, let's see. We've got, the last thing on here is, noise control.
Noise
Health and
ordinance.
safety, noise.
That was the language that Sue so generously drafted.
Thank you,
so that it
Sue.
was consistent to,
The land use development code.
the other amendments were to make it consistent with the other things.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because when she said, take a look at it, I
Right.
said, well, you have to, the
Merge,
definitions are
yes.
totally different in 2 different places.
Yeah, we
They have
might.
to be
That's a
consistent.
good catch.
And I think that was the definitions that we're gonna add.
Okay.
Looked at it, we have a lot of definitions that need to kind of adjoin.
No, that's great. Okay.
It's a language, is it exactly like it is for the construction stuff now?
They said for noise, they put in decibels, they took out times.
And we do have the decibel here.
Okay, so on page 2 of 8, it says right of way included but not limited to, there's a period, but
Yeah,
there's no.
remember we caught that and we forgot to change it. It's the same as our LUDC. It should read.
So what does enforcement of this?
So my only question, why did you take out the right of way definition that was already there?
Because it didn't make any
This
sense.
right-of-way definition
Makes no
is the
sense.
same that's in the land use development.
So it,
So we're
yeah.
making this, so
Oh, okay.
I was told to make sure that these definitions were matched what was in land use development code.
Yeah, or you could just put right of way C section.
So, that's
Well-
why that was changed on that particular
Okay.
one. We have for non-conforming, we have 3 different definitions in the land use development
Okay.
code
We had,
for that, but then, and it's not on any of your other people's papers, all of these other definitions are not in the land use development code.
Well, that's fine, because it can be defined here, that's fine.
Right.
You don't have to. Okay.
And I think that, as you said last time, we could actually throw in these definitions for the next reading.
Yeah.
Even if we don't have them for the first reading.
Has to be done before the 3rd.
Before the 3rd.
No, we have time, so I would
We're
just
at-
like to get it
Yeah.
moving forward. This is the 3rd reading on the noise ordinance, though we've already had 2 readings.
Yeah, and so we will, but if I'm understanding correct, you have to redraft that whole construction activity thing. So I don't wanna push her, when she's done with that, then we'll have the.
I'm not in a huge hurry for this one either. You
No.
take the time to clarify that, make the changes to that one section that, we've already done, that you're going to do in the land use development code.
Yeah, that's the only thing that will have to be cleaned up that I'm aware of.
Are we on the same page?
Including
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but this one's different than what we added. This one's beefier. Okay.
So, yeah, you guys do what you've got to do there. And
Okay.
I think that's all we have.
That's it?
And now we'll open it up to public comment. And please, Pat, will you please make a comment, because you stuck around.
Yes.
You're the first one to say that. You're the only one keeping us honest, that's for dang sure. We appreciate you coming and sticking through all these things.
All of the meetings.
All of the meetings.
All meetings. If we only had more meetings, Pat, what would you?
Are you crazy?
I don't want any
I
more
won't say that.
fresh meat to get out
Okay,
today.
I'll take a look at that.
Do we, no public comment? Since there's no further business, I adjourn this meeting.